Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today with us. Today's date is October 30, 2025. This morning's public hearing held by the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting is called to order. The time is now 8 o'clock. Some housekeeping matters that I'll briefly discuss so we can get right to work. The first notice of this public hearing was disseminated to all senators and media outlets on October 23, 2025, with its second notice disseminated on October 23rd, and then the second notice went out on October 28th. I need my glasses. Wow. This hearing notices are also made available on Candid News Group, the Guam Legislature's website, our legislative calendar, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal. Today we will hear testimony on number 38 GL 25-1335, the appointment of Carl E. Torres. The second to serve as a member of Guam Education Board, parent representative of a student currently enrolled in DOE, 3 years from the date of confirmation, as well as Bill number 199-38, an act to add a new subsection 27027 to Chapter 27, Title 17 of Guam Code Annotated, relative to adding a lifelong teaching certificate for experienced educators on Guam, and Bill number 200-38, COR, an act to amend subsection 12112 of Chapter 12, Article 1, Title 17, Guam Code Annotated, relative to requiring the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council to review and approve all contracts, memoranda of agreement, memoranda of understanding, and similar binding agreements entered into by Academy Charter Schools to enhance oversight, accountability, and compliance with public funding requirements, and in that order. At this time, I'd now like to welcome my colleagues who are joining me this morning, Vice Speaker Tony Atta and Senator Sean Gumatauta. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everybody in attendance of the Legislature and Guahan's general rules of conduct. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chairperson before speaking and shall state their full name for the record and what organization or institution they're representing. Questions and testimony should be confined to the substance or nature of today's agenda. Personal inferences to the character or motive of any senator or individual testifying is not permitted. Pursuant to subsection 11.07 of the 38 Guam Legislature Standing Rules, a chairperson may order the removal from the hearing of a committee or subcommittee of any person who is not a member of Legislature and Guahan and who fails to observe proper decorum. Any violation to this general rule of conduct will result in immediate removal from this public hearing room. With that, we will now proceed to hear testimony on the appointment of Carl E. Torres, the second to serve as a member of Guam Education Board. So all those here to testify, if you could please come to the table up front. And we'll go ahead and start with you, Dr. McNinch.
Thank you, Senator Borja and honorable senators. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you today to testify in support of Mr. Carl Torres. My name is Ron McNinch. I'm an elected school board member. Like all of you, I'm also a politician, so please vote for me next year. Basically, I would like to point out, while the audience may not see this, many politicians view education as the top priority for everyone. Out of the 15 senators here in the legislature, only 3 are here at 8 a.m. this morning for the hearing, and that is Senator Gumatauta, Senator Atta, and Senator Borja. There's 12 other senators. If they viewed education as important, they would at least show up for these kinds of hearings. We're here this morning, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean it as a person who's over 60 who has no filter, okay? It's my honor and privilege to certainly support Mr. Torres's nomination this morning. He's been a long-term educator. He's an honored professional at GCC. He's done a great job. I don't know him personally, but I certainly support him. I would like to point out to the senators, and I'm very sincere about this, the Guam Board of Education has a very limited role. The most important role that we have is to select, approve, and simply oversee the superintendent of education. It takes 6 out of the 9 board members to appoint a superintendent. Any person who's elected or appointed to the school board must view it as their imperative duty to vote on a superintendent of education. You don't get to recuse yourself. You don't get to make up little excuses here or there. You have to vote for the superintendent. That is our job. We have one job, And you don't get a hall pass on that. You got to do it. And I'm just saying that as a kind suggestion to any current or future board member on the Guam Department of Education board. You don't get, and the only exception is if a person is in a very strong business interest, or it's a family member they're in a business interest is, they might need to recuse themselves. But in 99% of the cases, all board members should be voting on the superintendent. I appreciate the very good work the Guam legislature has done with education and the support in education. I certainly appreciate the leadership of Senator Borja as well as our other senators. And thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. And my best wishes to Mr. Torres as a school board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McNinch. And Mr. Torres, you can go to proceed with your testimony.
Hafidi and good morning, senators. My name is Carl Torres II. I come to you this morning anxious, nervous, and extremely cold this morning. I'm asking for the support to be appointed and be the next parent rep on the Guam Board of Education, GDOE board. I bring to the board almost 20 years of experience in education. It is at the higher education, at the GCC, which is where I currently am employed. I also bring almost 10 years of experience as a PTO officer. As a parent for my children at UP Elementary, I was there as a sergeant of arms, but extremely busy in helping the others in their position. And I continued for even a year after my children moved on. So one of the things that I find myself doing is that if I had started something, it's something that I would like to continue moving on. And again, it's not just for my children, it's also for those that are attending the schools. As a parent, I've recognized that sometimes we too have to be the parent and the teacher. I was a parent for 2 children in the public school system during the time of COVID. And at the same time, I was also working remotely teaching my classes. So I do understand where parents are coming from in regards to what they have to do at the home. We do understand I do understand what teachers have to do in the classroom too. Sorry again, I said the nervous part. In addition, I do have experience in regards to being a union president for the faculty over at Guam Community College. So I also bring that to the board in regards to having some insights with contracts and with agreements. I, once again, have been with the college for 18, going on 19 years. And we have also, at the institution, found ourselves reaching out to the public schools and the other schools here on island, and seeing to it that there is some transition, that our students are able to seamlessly move on into the higher education arena and to do well and to, again, contribute back to the community and to the island itself. I do see myself taking on a role that is, I'm not elected, but I know I will be reaching out to all the schools, the PTOs. I have seen my predecessors doing the same thing as I was a PTO officer. I've actually worked with both Carlin and with Mark in the past. And I find that as much as it will be shoes that are hard to fill, it is something that I'm ready to take on the challenge and to move forward with it. And again, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity and the support.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Now I open the floor for my question, or for my colleagues if they have any questions for the nominee or the appointee. Senator Gumatatow.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being with us today. And I think that as Dr. McNinch was very pointed about being and showing up, this is a good thing for not just all of us, but for you, that you're able to be here to come on and take questions from us, and why you'd want to serve. I think that's a big deal. A lot of people don't realize the amount of sacrifice that it takes to be able to step forward and do something a bit. This is not your PTO. This is surely not CFA, and it's not doing stuff at the Guam Community College. This is on behalf of all of our schools and our school children specifically. I just wanted to, as I had a couple of questions, I know that in your background, you are the current vice chair of CFA, right? And I know that there's been a lot of issues. Being a math instructor, when we think of numbers in our charter schools, do you think that in terms of the numbers in terms of how much charter schools get today. What is your take on the future of charter schools, especially with the amount of money that they get currently in this budget?
Well, again, I came here this morning for the appointment towards the GDOE board, although I will address the question. Me personally, I find that there's many things that are evolving with the charter schools and with the island. In my past experiences, I've seen where, I mean, money is just always a concern in regards to how it's used, also in what we do with it and whether or not it's always going to be enough. I do know that the charter schools are under a different, I would just say process, but a lot of what the government laws in regards to procurement and everything is followed. As for the exact amounts, I'm not certain as to whether what it is and what we will be able to do with it. I, though, am confident that along with the other charter schools that we will be, again, looking closely into how the monies is used and to ensure that the children of Guam are actually served, whether it be assisting or doing programs in combination with GDOE or with the other charter schools and within our schools itself.
I think you underestimate your input into this, because it is a very key part of what the board does in terms of how they dictate policy to not just the big Gov Guam and schools, but you will have a big say in charter schools. So I know you're saying, I'm not really sure, but you will have a big say, just so you know that upon your confirmation. Also, you're a parent too, and I've had 3 of my 5 kids have gone to public schools, and I would say that the biggest challenge facing parents today, you're that voice to them. What is the biggest concern facing parents in our Guam Department of Education schools today, in your opinion?
So I currently reside up in Jigo, and both my children are attending schools there in the north. So both my daughter is in Sanchez, my son is in FB. It's a big concern for myself that my children have been displaced and not have a home. But at the same rate, I do consider, for I have nephews, nieces, godchildren that attend JFK and Okadu, to where I was accustomed to waking up early and going to school. They have to wake up an hour or 2 hours earlier to attend school. So the displacement in regards to me as a parent is of concern. Transportation for our children going to and fro, we do leave them at home until they can make a bus pickup, which is at midday. So there is a lot, but again, as I come into this position, I don't just look at myself and my home. I also look at, again, reaching out to see what other concerns that parents do have. I would like to continue what my predecessors had done. And again, that is reaching out through the PTOs to find out what parents' concerns are and see how that we can assess each other and work with that. And again, if confirmed and seated at the board, looking at what I can do in regards to helping them in that, bring that voice to that group. Okay,
and just the final question, Mr. Chair, is you mentioned about the busing side, and I think I mentioned it here many times since I've been a senator. But there is policy. We have schools that are community-based schools, and I see all the time as I'm driving from Talafofo to Agana, kids that are literally within walking distance to a school, but they are adamant to jump on a bus. The sheer amount of money that could be saved if we could encourage more kids to walk to school, perhaps more healthier conditions. As a parent, do you think that is something that you could push to the board and maybe start to, I mean, I'm not saying that all our kids are going to get skinny in a semester, but it would be an absolute help to not only our busing system that provides, again, as you mentioned, double sessions for certain schools, but can you see that kind of policy come through, that we're finally going to get our kids a little bit more healthy and walk into school and having a little bit more pride in our school communities like that, in a way that we'll start seeing more kids in our villages walking around?
I'm kind of glad you brought that up. So one of the things that I find, again, is that our children are at the bus stops, and yes, like you do say, I see bus stops that are outside of the schools in certain cases. I'm not necessarily, again, for me personally as a parent, I wouldn't want to encourage anybody to say that my child is to walk a little bit further than normal. Some of us as parents drop our children to the bus stop and then have them pick up or get picked up by the bus and brought to the school. I think one of the bigger things is just like my children who are in the double session, I avoid having my children do yard work or do chores that are extraneous in any way early in the morning because of the fear that they would be tired out. So I think one of the things and the conveniences of having the buses pick them up, even as close as they are to the schools, is that they wouldn't be all sweaty and tired from that walk just there. On days to where it may be raining, they wouldn't have to be soaking wet and have to get a change of clothes and all. So as a parent, I think that if the services were available, that would be great. But I do agree, there may be some programs that may need to be instilled within GDOE or within all of our schools actually to get our children a bit more active. I think I do suffer too at home where everybody's at the table and everybody's on their phone at the same time rather than talking and walking around. So I can understand you. Yes, thank you.
Well, maybe you can rub off on my kids having chores at like crack of dawn. I think that would be awesome for my family, but at this point, I think that's a wishful thinking. But thank you for being with us, and I do support your nomination to the board and look forward to working with you upon confirmation. Thank you again for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gumatauta. Vice Speaker Addett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Torres. Thank you for accepting the governor's nomination to become the parent representative for the Guam Board of Education. I see that you're also still involved with the CIFA as a board member and the vice chair, correct? And then also you are at GCC. Yeah. So, do you think that you still be able to commit the time that is needed and required of as a board member, especially as a parent representative to the Guam Board of Education?
As I mentioned earlier, I come here and I think I'm filling quite big shoes. GDOE is one of the largest agencies that we have here on the island, and just to be able to look at individual villages and the number of schools that are there, I do feel that yes, this is a big position. This is, for lack of better words, a lot to chew, although I think something that I'm proud of in regards to myself is that my ability to switch hats and to multitask in that sense. I think a lot of it has to do with really planning and ensuring that things don't overlap in that way. I do see that I'm going to be doing quite a bit of research as I go through to find out what ways worked, what ways didn't work, and maybe even to bring in other ways that have not been tried just yet. But yes, I do agree that this is a really big task, and I think that what I'm going to have to do is work with those that have put their confidence in me and having me sit in here in front of you guys this morning to say, I need you guys to also jump on board and reach out and help me in that sense, because there's just one of me. And again, GDOE is pretty large, not only as in regards to its employees and personnel, but to even more of the children and the parents that are involved there.
Yeah, definitely. And have you taken advantage of attending any of the board meetings in the past prior to your appointment to the board?
No, I have not. I've seen some within YouTube recordings and then some that I've seen on live. Again, I think it's just a lot of times we look at what is more important. I have been following along if I myself could not attend, but to see what's going on in regards to our children. And again, like I said, my children who are attending schools up north, it's not just them who are impacted not having a home, but even the schools that they share with and the other students that are there and the parents who suffer, or let me not use the word suffer, but are struggling because of the double sessions that take place. So yes, I feel that information is there. I'm very fortunate that we are at times that you may not need to be there live to hear these things. And matter of fact, we have the ability to hear the recordings over and over to make sure we understood what was happening. And then we can do some follow-up questionings or research on our own. I take pride in the fact that I have that ability, and it's something that I've been able to use in regards to moving forward and getting things done by the end of the day sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. So being your confirmation goes forward and gets voted on by this body, what do you hope to achieve on being the parent representative on the board? What kind of policy change or improvements or concerns that you would like to bring up to the board to have addressed, immediately, or what are your priorities as a board member?
Well, again, personally, I don't have any. I wouldn't want to bring to the board any priority that I have personally. Again, I do have some ideas and things in mind that I would like to bring in, but as a parent, I have an 8th grader, so he will be getting out of school within maybe 4 years. But I do know that I'll be representing other parents who have children as young as the Head Start or even the kindergarten. And I want to make sure that their voices are also equally heard and not just my personal priorities. I do know that there are many programs that have been started or initiated by those parent reps in the past. And again, like I had shared, there's a lot of research that I'm going to have to do in regards to and work with individuals to see what programs we can continue, what is it that I can continue, and then also gain and collect information as to what programs I may need to, or possibly even policies I might ask that the board to consider. Again, this is all quite a big step for me, but again, I'm ready, confident, anxious, again, like I said, nervous, but definitely ready to kind of take on any type of challenge that is there put in front of me. And yeah, pretty much willing to take it on. I do find, again, like I said, my main concern or priority for myself, other than what Dr. McNinch had said is with the superintendent, is also to see what we can do, if not at the board level, but maybe within administration to have what the parents are looking for in regards to making it easier. We do have situations where we're always fearful that public health may shut us down tomorrow, and I now need to find a babysitter for my kids who's also going to ensure that they're attending classes if done remotely. So there's a lot of things that we are currently we're kind of receiving on the receiving end. We're going to be more reactive. But as the parent rep, again, like I said, I think I need to collect more information as to what is there and what's pressing. And aside from just what I would like, which was, of course, a home for my kids to say that they graduated from that campus. But, you know, again, it's, like I said, it's really reaching out and seeing what is mostly needed.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for accepting the governor's appointment to be the parent representative on the Guam Board of Education. I look forward to voting on your confirmation, and Mr. Chairman, being that we go into session towards the end of November, I hope you'll be able to get this committee report generated so that we be able to vote on your confirmation in our next session. But thank you for taking the step to you know, be a part of what we can do to help make a difference right in the lives of our students, and how we can ensure that programs or things of that nature, or policy in general for the Department of Education that the board is responsible for, gets these things moving and ensure that it benefits all the children of our school system. So thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Vice
Thank you, Vice Speaker. You know, Mr. Torres, like my colleagues have shared, it really, you know, I mean, GDOE is the largest government agency. They have the largest budget. Their board is probably one of the only boards that is under public scrutiny because, of course, the size of the responsibility and just how much the you know, public looks to the board to address most of the issues with the department. I know Vice Speaker asked in regards to what your priorities are, what are some things that you look to address while you're on the board, but I guess my question is, what are some of the issues that you're aware of in regards to the issues that the board is currently not necessarily addressing, but has, you know, are constantly under scrutiny? For example, their budget and their finances. Probably the one thing that is going to be the most challenging part of the job. I think in this budget, they're looking to at least get a decent, you know, a lot more money than they had, and they have more coming from the federal government. But what do you think that you're able to bring and contribute to the board in regards to addressing what is viewed as, or perceived, especially with the public, as you know, mismanagement of GDOE finances, and how do you think you're going to help in that aspect?
Thank you. So personally, I feel I come in as more of a non-biased, right? I'm coming in as the parent, and ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that the money should be spent on the child entirely. I do understand that when it does come to finances and everything, we do need to think about personnel, we need to think about facilities, and personally, I think really right now where we are at, facilities is one of the bigger concerns. I do understand that there are a lack of teachers, and you know, we're always looking for teachers. That's something that's always been a situation every year. And it's wonderful to think that maybe the way that we get more teachers in the market is to increase the pay. it is wonderful, but at the same time, it needs to be that juggle as to where we're going to be putting or where we're going to get money from. I do, like I said, wish that we can just put all the money. I mean, if we could wake up, snap our finger, and we had everything, it'd be great. All of our problems would be resolved. Although one of the bigger things I think is GDOE is one of the larger, and facility-wise, I hear is one of the most concerning. I do see that there are measures and things put in place to where that we can move forward and do those. But again, like I said, I think my primary priority would be, aside from, I already know our teachers are certified and all, but it would be more for just to ensure that the students have a safe place. You know, our kids have a safe place to go to school. And again, like I shared earlier, even just the walk to and from, we need to ensure that that's a safe walk around the schools are safe. And if we need to put in funding in that area or actually ask that more funding be put in it, that's where I'm hoping we can do. As we look at new schools being built, we're also forgetting about schools that are falling apart. So I can see, and I've heard parents who basically shared that the focus is a lot on one area, but what about the other areas? And they're hoping that the resolution is not just to close down a school and to reassign students to different areas. For, again, it's an inconvenience to parents to take their children a little bit farther from home than what they're used to. So yes, there's a lot more. I know there is a lot more detail, and that is quite a hefty budget. I do look at getting a little bit more insights in it. If you asked me a couple of days ago if I really thought I was going to be sitting here, and the answer would probably been, I don't know what I'm getting into. But I've had enough individuals who said that, you know, you can do it. You can take this on. You may need to lessen your load in regards to other areas. I can't quit work, but there are things that I'm going to have to be able to juggle a little bit better. And at the same time, it's really looking at what the parents, and not just the parents, but also what the children say, right? I think right now we're coming from a point where a lot of the parents too are struggling to find out exactly what's going on with the schools. As a former PTO officer, there were times where we were doing fundraisers and it was just the officers, right? So again, parent involvement is something that I would like to see a little bit more of in regards to, again, apologies, priorities, is the parent involvement with our children in the schools, and to see how we can assist the schools in ensuring that it's a safe environment. I know that many parents in the past have even contributed for grass cutting, for repairs, for helps, just to ensure that public health inspections were passed. And it's behind us, but now there's renewals. So, you know, and it's going to continue every single year. So I think it's, for lack of better words, I would like to see that things are not done to band-aid the situations, and actually how we can kind of fix it for a little bit more long-term.
Thank you. And then my last question is, you know, there's a lot of discussion in regards to just kind of the structure and governance, or not necessarily governance, of the board. There have been, you know, proposals in regards to giving the department back to the governor, maybe giving the board more governing authority, because they really just have policy authority. They're like, you know, Dr. McNinn shared earlier, probably one of the most important jobs that they do is hire and have oversight of the superintendent. So what are your thoughts in regards to just the current structure, or any ideas? And do you think this structure works, or do you think, you know, putting GDOE back at the governors would make things a lot easier in regards to moving resources? Just kind of your thoughts as a board member, or should you become a board member?
So currently, I'm not sure if I have a true opinion in regards to it. I would say that normally you don't try to fix things unless it's broken. But then at the same rate, I think there's a lot of research and a lot of checks and balances that need to be put in place before we do make these changes. I think that making a change too quickly, too drastically, can actually be more of a negative impact. And then how long would it take for us to resolve or to fix that issue that we just created? Like I said, GDOE is one of the biggest. I'm not necessarily looking at being the individual that would want to call as to entirely what they would do. Therefore, in regards to the board's ability, I do appreciate for lack of better words, the wiggle room, being able to contribute in whatever way that we are, and also to oversee what is going on. But as for the changes currently, I think I would want to see a little bit more in regards to what models, what exactly would that entail, and then as an individual in math, I've always looked at what other angles there are. Did we actually research and find out if there's all the variables have been looked into? What could be the negative impacts, and would that be outweighed by the positive impacts or not? So again, right now don't have a strong stance to it. I would like to see if I am confirmed, I would definitely have to do a little bit more and see what options there are. Just like my children with their schools, I like to see what options there are rather than just resorting to that one right in front of us. Again, we're looking at things for more long term and not trying to just put a quick solution to what's in front of us.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Torres. I really don't have any further questions, but want to thank you again for accepting the governor's appointment or nomination to be appointed to this board. It really is, I mean, for all the other boards, I say that, but to accept this nomination for the Department of Education board, it's a tough task, and definitely one of the most scrutinized, well, at least publicly, where every board meeting is watched, everything said there is held against them, and so you have a huge task, and I definitely support your nomination. So again, thank you for coming here today. Thank you to those who came to support the nominee. And with that being said, this now concludes the public hearing for Carl E. Torres II. At this time, I'd like to dismiss the panel and call for a 2-minute recess to prepare for the next hearing on Bill number 199-38. We are now in recess. The time is now 8:31. I don't have the time is now 8:34, and we are back from recess. At this time, we'll be hearing Bill number 199-38, COR, introduced by myself, Senator Vincent A.V. Borja, an act to add a new subsection 27027 to Chapter 27, Title 17 of Guam Code Annotated, relative to adding a lifetime teaching certification for the experienced educators on Guam. I will now proceed with my opening remarks. Buenas and half a day, colleagues and the people of Guam. We're hereby today to receive testimony on Bill 199-38, an act relative to adding a lifetime teaching certificate for experienced educators on Guam. As the author of this bill and chairman of the Committee on Ed, I believe this is a step in recognizing the dedication of our island's most committed educators. Bill 199 seeks to establish a lifetime teaching certificate for teachers who have dedicated 25 years or more of service to Guam schools. The purpose is straightforward: to honor the immense value and expertise of our veteran educators, to reduce administrative burdens that can discourage them from continuing their service, and to retain their invaluable knowledge within our classrooms. This measure is a token of our appreciation for their decades of hard work and commitment to our students. Today, I look forward to hearing from our stakeholders, particularly the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, the Guam Department of Education, our teacher organizations, and members of the community. Your testimony will be essential as we work together to refine and advance this legislation in a way that best serves our students, our teachers, and our islands. Thank you again for your presence and your participation. Let's move forward to hearing from those present to testify on this bill. If those testifying could please approach the table, and we'll start accepting testimony. And before we proceed as well, I want to recognize in our presence former Speaker Judy Wanpat and former Senator Will Castro. And we'll start in the order that they signed in. Dr. Santos, if you would like to begin your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Senators. I'm Dr. Michelle Santos, the Executive Director at the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, and I am here to provide testimony in support of Bill 199-38. I would first like to thank Senator Borja for seeking input from the GCEC and including the Commission's input into the version of 199-38 before you. The issue of lifetime certification was already a priority on the Commission's agenda, making the Senator's outreach both timely and valuable. This collaboration allowed for the immediate provision of constructive input, which, as stated in our letter of support dated October 6th, was grounded in the Commissioner's collective expertise, our independent research, and experience from other jurisdictions. We believe the Lifetime Teacher Certificate is uniquely positioned to deliver meaningful and efficient results. This legislation appropriately recognizes the dedication of educators who have served Guam's students for 25 years or more. We hope this measure will encourage these long-serving educators to stay in the classroom by removing some of the perceived obstacles that may lead to their certification or licensure lapsing. The legislation also appropriately ensures that the professionals serving our children meet the standards the community deserves. Furthermore, as noted in my additional testimony provided to BBMR, the GCEC does not project any detrimental fiscal impact as a result of this bill, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak in favor of this bill and are available to answer any questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Santos. Dr. McNinch.
Thank you, Senator Borja, and thank you, Senators, for this opportunity to be able to speak about this bill this morning. In general, right now, it's 8:38, and this is an education committee meeting, if I may. My name is Ron McNinch. I am an elected school board member. Please vote for me next fall. God bless Guam. God bless America. So we're here in an education board meeting at 8 a.m., and there are 15 senators, and 3 senators have showed up for the education board, or for the education review committee meeting, and that's of course Senator Borja, Senator Anthony Atta, and Senator Sean Gumatau. While our leaders may talk a lot about education, to know and not to do is still not to know. They actually have to show up. Showing up is 90% of life. If our legislators care about education, they should show up to these important hearings. And I'm saying that as a kind suggestion, and because I'm over 60 and I have no filter anymore. One key thing I would also like to mention in response to this bill, it's about teacher certification and the lifetime certification. I think having a lifetime certification is fine. I'm not opposed to it. But I am deeply concerned about the teacher pipeline that we have on Guam. I'm deeply concerned about how we're educating teachers or not educating teachers. I'm deeply concerned about the certification process and the function and systems that we're using. I'm deeply concerned about why does a person who's been accused of sexually abusing children, how do they get recertified as a school teacher? That's something I'm concerned about, and I hope, sincerely hope, we can have some very important discussions on how to make meaningful changes at GWE, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity to speak to the legislators and certainly Senator Borja and senators today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McNinch. Ms. Roberta Abadai, did I say that correctly?
Abadai.
Abadai, okay, sorry about that. Thank you. You can
Good morning, Senators. Okay. I'm Roberta Abadai, the current chairperson of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. And on behalf of the commissioners, I am here to support Bill 199-38. Thank you, Senators, for this opportunity. The proposal, adding a lifetime certificate for licensure for teachers, recognizes the commitment of the teachers of Guam and the impact experienced teachers have had and will continue to have on the children and future of our island. As a member of the Guam Federation of Teachers, I received the union news. When Mr. Fedenko mentioned the idea of a lifetime certificate in the union news, I immediately brought it up to the GCEC commissioners as a consideration. Since May 14, 2024, we have been researching, discussing, and working on the phrasing to include this lifetime certificate in the law for educator certification. Our ideas have been considered and included in the bill number 199-38 proposed by Senator Vincent Borja. Thank you. The commissioners continue to review, discuss, and work toward revisions of the law for educator certification to address the needs of the island and maintain standards of quality, and we look forward to continuing to work with Senator Borja, and the Guam Commission for Educator Certification therefore fully supports the inclusion of the lifetime certificate for our experienced teachers on Guam as written into this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abadai. Dr. Adamas.
Thank you, Senator Borja and Vice Speaker Ada and Senator Gumatauta. My name is Barbara Adamas. I am the Acting Deputy Superintendent of Educational Support and Community Learning with the Guam Department of Education. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Swanson, who is currently preparing for his presentation of the annual State of Public Education report. That's this evening at 6 o'clock, first floor conference room at GDOE headquarters. And I submit this testimony in strong support of Bill 199-38, which proposes the establishment of lifetime teaching certificates for qualified educators within the Guam Department of Education. As a career educator and administrator with over 36 years of service in Guam's public schools, I offer this perspective grounded in experience and strategic insight. This legislation is a vital step toward retaining experienced educators. Lifetime certification honors the dedication of veteran teachers and provides a meaningful incentive to keep them in the profession. In a district that is facing persistent staffing shortages, this bill helps preserve institutional knowledge and instructional leadership. Moreover, this bill reinforces GDOE's long-term goals by supporting the development of future leaders such as department heads or grade-level chairpersons and hopefully school administrators, by driving ongoing improvement across campuses by retaining experienced teachers who are key to improving student outcomes, and by formally recognizing the excellence and dedication of veteran educators. I also support and applaud the safeguards and accountability components embedded in this lifetime achievement process. And when I actually started looking over the bill, I could see the Guam Commission for Educator Certification's input in the language of the bill. So this is what I see in terms of the supports and safeguards. Number one, ongoing engagement and accountability. Reporting to the GCEC every 5 years ensures that certified teachers remain actively engaged in the profession and maintain ethical standards. This check-in reinforces a culture of responsibility and transparency. Number two, continuous evaluation. Through the Guam Professional Teacher Evaluation Program, or PTEP, teachers submit a satisfactory evaluation every 5 years to the GCEC. This provides a structured opportunity to assess teaching effectiveness, classroom impact, and alignment with the instructional goals on an annual basis. This encourages reflection and growth, even for seasoned educators. And the third support is that it's professional development. Participation in school or district professional development keeps teachers informed about the new teaching strategies, curriculum updates, technology integration, and student support practices. They actually bring that as well. Instead of learning what's new, they bring seasoned perspectives to these approaches. And it ensures they're not just maintaining certification, but actively improving their craft. These components are directly tied to current educational trends and best practices, helping teachers stay aligned with district goals and student needs. In closing, lifetime certification doesn't mean a free pass. It means honoring long-time service while maintaining high standards. These conditions ensure that experienced educators continue to grow, adapt, and deliver high-quality instruction that reflects the latest in educational research and student-centered practices. I respectfully urge the legislature to pass this bill and stand with Guam's educators who have dedicated their lives to public service. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Adames. Sejus Mansi, everybody, for your testimonies. We'll now open up the floor for questions to my colleagues, and we'll start with Senator Gumatata.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for being with us this morning. And a very special, I'll just say thank you to Ms. Abadai for being a Teacher of the Year and being a part of this group and leading the group. I think aspirationally for all of our Teachers of the Year, I'm hoping that at some point that we can attract all of them and be a part of this at some point. So thank you again for your service to the people of Guam. I wanted to just, I know that there was a mention that there isn't a big impact. I know that in the fiscal note, BBMR noted that the bill might have a negative impact on the certification fee collection revenues, as granting the lifetime certificates would eliminate the need for eligible teachers to pay recurring certification renewal fees. However, the impact, the Commission said it will be minimal. Is that the case? I mean, when you say minimal, are we talking, you're going to lose a little here and there, or what's your kind of take overall on the fiscal impact?
If you look at the bottom of the fiscal impact statement from BBMR, they noted at the bottom I had provided them the recertification process. And in terms of the timeline, it may, if someone is a master educator, it may remove one time that they come in and renew. If they are a professional educator, it may be 2 or 3 times, which could be $150 per educator. Some may not choose to do the lifetime and may want, for example, both Dr. Adames and I spoke about this. Neither of us are eligible for taking advantage of this lifetime certificate because we have not been in the classroom for the 25 years. We've had different roles. And so we will continue to maintain our master educator and our master administrator certificates. So those types of things, not everyone can take advantage of it, but those who are serving our students in the classroom on a daily basis would receive the most benefit from this.
Well, and thank you for that, because I think that sometimes when we look at the policy, people aren't going to really appreciate what you just said, because I think you have to really dive in, or there's this assumption, even myself included, that would be like, oh my gosh, what would be the impact? But you're very clear, and thank you for the clarification this morning on the record. Now, interestingly, we would join 3 states, right, that would be recognizing lifetime certification: Montana, Washington, and Texas. Is there more than that? Are we missing? I know that's from the national board, but are we missing a couple?
Yes, sure. Our Idaho recently passed. They went from a 30-year down to a 25-year. So If people served 30 years, they used to be able to apply. Now it's at 25. So that's a recent change. Missouri, they used to call it lifetime certificates. Now it's a career certificate, and it's only valid for 99 years. So there are other states that do have lifetime certificates, but sometimes it's hidden in the language of the bill. New Jersey has a lifetime, North Dakota has a lifetime, and there are some other states as well. I don't have the list on the top of my head.
Yeah, and if our genetics are good to be teaching that long, I think wow, I'll just say that. I only have two more questions, Mr. Chair, and it's kind of been with probably perhaps other legislation and thinking about, and this goes to the issue of ethics. And with respect to the Guam Ethics Commission's very broad jurisdiction over standard of conduct complaints against Government of Guam employees, how does the Guam Commission for Educator Certification's handling of alleged ethics violations against educators overlap with the Ethics Commission's work, and what role, if any, would the Ethics Commission have in helping your commission confirm whether a lifetime teacher certification should be revoked for professional code of conduct of ethics violations, if that is the case?
That's an excellent question. Because we have been talking about ethics for all educators, not just public school educators, which is where we are really responsible for. We do have a law, 32-50, that addresses educator ethics, provides subpoena ability for our board. The problem that we have is, number one, we don't have an investigator. And the other is that it takes someone to report it. We can't, based on the law, we cannot act. And that was in consultation with Federation of Teachers. They didn't want the Guam Commission for Educator Certification to go out searching on Facebook to look for alleged violations so that we could process that. It needed to be sent by the schools. The principals have a mandatory reporting requirement, or they could lose their teaching license to report violations. As professionals, teachers are supposed to report to protect the profession, but I think that scares people. Guam is small, and that's my pari, or that's my friend, or that's my neighbor.
Yeah, and Doc, why I asked that, it's similar to, Mr. Chair, in the Committee on Public Safety. The Post Commission has been, since I've been in my office, they're looking at ways that when a peace officer gets in trouble, how do they take the certification away from them? Obviously, that's an important thing for public safety officials. I'm hoping that that would be the case here. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Abade.
I just wanted to add that we are outside of civil service. If someone is teaching for the Department of Education, they would be going through the civil service process, but if they quit their job, the civil service process stops. That doesn't go with certification. If they have a certificate to teach, that license can be revoked, and we have very diligent commissioners and members in the office who are checking the news on a regular basis and looking for any names that obviously are usually very big headlines of a teacher or a school personnel who has been involved in issues of that nature. And then we keep watch and we monitor. If it goes through the courts and we are able to get copies from the courts, because we do request the final plea agreement or whatever they might have, then we are able to then take action. If an administrator reports, we are able to take action. Anybody can come in to report, but we have had perhaps 5 or fewer who have come in and reported issues. So we are instead watching the news, keeping track of the things with the courts. And I know at one time, part of the court plea agreement was that if they were involved in sexual misbehavior with a student, they had to give up their certificate. We hope that would be done again, and we've been requesting that as well, so that it becomes an automatic revocation. That does not exist at this time.
Yeah, and I know that, oh, go ahead, Dr. McNitch. No, please.
Thank you, Senator Gumentata, and certainly thank you, Senator Borja. Ron McNinch, I'm on the school board, I mentioned it earlier, and again, it's like 8:55, there's only 3 of our senators here at the education meeting after an hour, almost an hour.
Thank you for the update.
Really quickly, no, this is a drum we need to pound. Showing up is 90% of life, and if you don't show up, you don't matter. I don't care how many columns to the newspaper you write. Really quickly, there's something I'd like to say about ethics. I teach ethics. I don't believe in the Ethics Commission. I don't think the Ethics Commission works. I don't think the ethics training works. You know, if I have a peer who's violating basic ethics where I'm at, I'm going to call them out on it myself. I don't need some manager to do it. We, as public employees, if we're public employees, we're all leaders. We all have a fiduciary responsibility to the health and safety of our students. We don't need some abstract structure to tell us we need to protect our children. We should be able to do that ourselves. We'd say it in the law, sua sponte. We should do it without any other encouragement. That's how important it is. And we need to start getting tough and stop being so permissive with particularly educators who are sexually abusing our students. There's no mercy in my heart for people like that as a board member. And as a board member, if I had the power, I would fire them the same day. And I fire people for a living. That's what I'm trained to do. In a heartbeat. We should not be putting up with people like this. I know this is a hearing about something else, but that's the point. In terms of ethics, we all have an ethical duty to protect our children. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually it does have a lot to do with it. I'll be very frank. I believe the question has a lot to do with it. I'm not saying that we're trying to legislate morality across our education system, but when it comes to the work of the commission, and I support the measure in terms of ensuring that if we're going to give these certifications for a long period of time, that we need to protect not just our kids, but a profession just like what's happening on the public safety side. Mr. Chair, thank you for the time, for the questions. Thank you, panel, for being with us.
Thank you, Senator Gumentata. Vice Speaker Adda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and echo the sentiments of Senator Gumentata and Mrs. Abadai. You know, I had the privilege of and the honor of Mrs. Abadai being my teacher and way back in high school, and also Mr. Abadai. God bless him. You know, I was talking about the certification, and perhaps maybe on page 3, line 21, the lifetime teacher certification, and perhaps maybe if we strike out may and put shall be revoked if the holder is found to have violated the professional code of conduct or code of ethics, you know, gives it a little bit more teeth. But, you know, I also agree with Dr. McNitch, you know, we need to be the ones to call out those who prey on our students, right, you know? And these perpetrators should always be brought to justice. And I know that a lot of times I get criticized as being, you know, I always introduce legislations about criminal sexual conduct. But those are the things that we need to ensure that, you know, those who have violated our youth should be put away, you know, because especially in a school, especially in they're there to learn, they're there to be educated, they're not there to be a prey for someone who's looking out to be, but that all being in a different setting. And the teacher certification, I think, what's your thoughts if we change that from a may to a shall? Would that be something that you guys would be also?
Anything that strengthens it would be acceptable, I think, from all of the commission members, of course.
Yeah, definitely. And otherwise, I don't have issues with this legislation. The other thing that Senator Gumatauto brought up was, I guess, the fees, right? The recurring fees that happens when you recertify and things like that. What we did in the vehicle registration fee or vehicle inspection was that we changed the law that made it, okay, your vehicle doesn't have to be inspected for the first 3 years, but then you still pay the fee for the first 3 years. So I'm not sure if that's something you guys want to visit where, you know, you don't have to pay for the, like you don't have to do the recertification or your certification's lifetime, but, you know, if the fees are still, are the fees just waived? I mean, would you still want the fees to be collected, or once they become a lifetime certified educator, then those fees are also waived along with it? Yeah.
Once they receive the certification, they are paying for the last fee, and that would be the last time they would pay.
Okay.
And just as a matter of comment, I graduated from a school in the States, and I have a Missouri lifetime certificate, which I paid for only one time, and I have been teaching for a very long time.
I'm only 25, so yeah, you're right. Thank you. But Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad we just cleared up a little of the issues and the fees and such, so I don't have an issue with this legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. And I'd like to recognize my colleague who just joined us, Senator Calvo. She doesn't have any questions. But again, thank you for the panel for showing up today. Thank you for your testimonies. You know, we'll continue. We appreciate your insights and your testimony, as it's essential to work, and we'll continue to refine the legislation to best serve our educators, and with the input received from you guys and the rest of the input that we'll collect within the next week. I'm hopeful that we can improve and strengthen this bill before putting it on the session agenda. This will now conclude the public hearing for Bill number 199-38. At this time, I'd like to dismiss the panel and call for a recess to prepare for the next hearing on Bill number 200-38. We're now in recess. The time is now 9:02 a.m. For those who are here to testify in for Bill 200, if you could please come up and have a seat. Where's the Cheryl? The time is now 9:03 and we're back from recess. At this time, we'll be hearing Bill number 200-38, introduced by myself, Senator Vincent A.B. Borja, an act to amend subsection 12112 of Chapter 12, Article 1, Title 17, Guam Code Annotated, relative to requiring the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council to review and approve all contracts, memoranda of agreement, memoranda of understanding, and similar binding agreements entered into by Academy Charter Schools to enhance oversight, accountability, and compliance with public funding requirements. I'll now proceed with my opening remarks. Buenas and Hafaday, my colleagues, invited guests, and the people of Guam. We will now hear testimony on Bill number 200-38, an act to enhance oversight and accountability for our Academy Charter Schools. As Chairman of the Committee on Education, I introduced this bill to ensure that while we promote educational innovation, we also steadfastly protect public funds. Charter schools were created to offer families more educational choices, but as publicly funded institutions, they must be held to high standards of financial responsibility. Over the years, recurring audits by the Office of Public Accountability have highlighted serious issues, included unvalidated expenses, weak financial controls, and deficits that threaten their long-term sustainability. These issues not only undermine public trust, but also expose our government to significant financial liabilities. Bill 200 addresses these concerns by expanding the authority of the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council. It would require the Council to review and approve all contracts, memorandum of agreement, and other binding documents before they take effect. This ensures that all agreements comply with procurement laws, fiscal regulations, and the educational mission of each charter. This is not about removing autonomy. It's about reinforcing accountability. The bill reinforces a simple principle: autonomy must come with accountability. I'm eager to hear testimony from our charter school leaders, the council, and the community on how we can best implement this oversight to help our charter schools thrive responsibly. Thank you for being here today, and we'll now start with the testimony for those who wish to speak on this proposed measure. And we'll go ahead and start with Ms. Helen, or Madam Chair, would you like to start first? Go ahead.
Hafide, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Senator Vincent Anthony V. Borja, Chair on Education. Thank you, Senator Shelley Calvo, Vice Speaker Anthony Atta, and Senator Gumatauta for being present and being here. My name is Evangeline Cepeda. I am the Chair of the Guam Academy Charter School Council. On behalf of the Council, we respectfully submit my written testimony in strong support of Bill number 200-38 COR, introduced by Senator Vincent A.V. Borja as Chair on Education. I want to thank you for hearing my plea on this bill. This bill I do have several amendments here today, and I will discuss this later on. But this bill was introduced because I went before the senator, and I did this 2 years ago with the previous Chair on Education, and this was not brought. And prior to that, it's been 4 years. And if they had done this, we probably wouldn't have the problem that we did at the time with the iLearn. Okay, it's not to pick on them, but that's a prime example. And the reason for this bill is, again, not to micromanage. The Board of Trustees and the charter schools have full autonomy. They know as the charter school chair, I don't go to their school, demand things. Lucky if they see me, I go only when I'm invited. I leave it to the professionals to do their job. We don't need another, and it's not in a bad sense, another mini DOE. That's not what I'm here for. My job, as the Speaker, Frank Blas, always says, there's the executive branch, there's the legislative branch. I know my lane. And the council, as the Guam Academy Charter School Council, we're only here to stay on our lane. But we learn as we have grown as charter schools. It's been 15 years. We have grown, we've made mistakes, and we want to do better. That's all. And so I'm here to say that there's amendments to this bill. This bill, the intent is amazing, okay? And it will benefit the charter school as a whole. And I want all the charter schools to be assured of this, that this bill is not to go the GAC to hammer down on the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees have full autonomy. But I need to say this. You roam in a field so wide, and there's no parameters, no boundaries, there's bound to be corruption. It's the human nature of people. And so to avoid that, this is what I'm saying, is this bill, the intent is good. Please support this bill with amendments. I'm going to stand firm on this. I, as a council chair, as one body of the council, I've been very proactive. I've never been a reactive kind of human being. We're not going to wait to be sued or for the public auditor to say we have $2 million that has to be paid to a contractor to react. We've done this. We're a community that reacts all the time. I'm here today to say let's be proactive. Let's get this started so we can resolve this and work together. Because the charter schools are not going to stay at 7. Just in the last 2 years, we had 3 new charter schools. It's growing. This is the process. But with this process comes perimeters. This comes with boundaries. It protects everyone. This is public money. And whatever they do with the nonprofit side of their money is their problem. That's the beauty of having a nonprofit. They report it to revenue and tax. We don't even get into that. But as long as we have a certifying officer that says stamped, date, guess what? That certifying officer for that charter school is saying, yes, we do have $1 million. I'm okay. But the problem is that's not the case. You give us the money, they provide this, the money is given down, we're going to ethically, again, morally, to do what is right. It's not always the case. I'm just here to protect all parties, the council, the board of trustees, and the charter school. Sometimes I don't even know who's on the board of trustees. If they come and introduce themselves to me, that is great. My job is not to get into their feet, and I think that's where the problem lies, Senator, Chair, that they feel that the council wants to control. I don't want to control. It's more work for me. $50 stipend, it's a joke. This is like a full-time job, and I have a real job. I'm saying this with true passion. It's underappreciated. People don't understand. But I swear to serve, and I'm going to do that. I'm here, and I've explained, and every time they want to call me, sometimes I call them. How do you feel about this? Madam Chair, do you have time? Sure, call me. I explain. There's no ulterior motives here. Control? This is a joke. Controlling another is a bureaucracy in itself, and that is a problem, bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy. All this means is, if you have a contract over 100, this is where the amendment I like to go, is if, all I'm saying is if the council can review all memorandum of understanding, any contracts that is 100,000 and above, it will, the Board of Trustees can still review it, approve it, do as they please. But it will come to the council so we are aware of it and not know after the fact. Then I have Senator Vincent Borja calling me and saying, Madam Chair, what's this? Oh, sir, I'll get back to you. Now, that sounds smart. I don't know until after the fact. Then I have to call, for example, Miss Helen. I'm not picking on you, Helen. Miss Helen, I said, Miss Helen, what's going on here? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why wasn't the GAC notified about this? But in truth, they have no jurisdiction to tell me. And I like that. The Board of Trustees have still autonomy. We're not taking that away from them. But they, to a certain degree, again, parameters, have to report to somebody. I report to you guys. I report to the governor, the lieutenant governor. Those are and the people of Guam. When parents call me and say so-and-so, I'm the type of human being that will call. Give me 24 hours, I will call you back. And I do. So I don't come down. I'm not as nice when I call these people. I'm saying, look, bring it to my attention so I'm fully aware. I'm sure you will like that as senators with your staff. So with that said, I'm here to say to my 7 charter schools, this is not an attack on you. When have you known me as your leader to say and do things without your input? The greater good, forget about Evangeline Cepeda, the greater good of the charter school, and where is it going to go today? And not be reactionary, and next year we get a lawsuit, and then the governor, Ada, if he's governor, is going to call me and say, you know, Madam Chair, where is this $1 million? What is this lawsuit? I can have an answer, say, you know, Governor, it was certified. The certifying officer said they had the money. It was reviewed legally by their attorney, whoever that attorney may be, and the Board of Trustees signed it and reviewed it, and we followed through. Now, again, Michael Phillips here is an attorney, he knows this. Anyone can sue or sue for no reason at all. We can't control that. But at least we have documents and a paper trail. We have paper trails. And this is all I'm saying, okay? This is not to offend any board of trustees or anybody for that. So, and I got to reiterate that. So we are in the same, and I say this to all the charter schools, every time we come to the budget, you go against us, the council, it doesn't look good. We go in as a team like a family. We don't have to agree to disagree, but we come in, I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for you and your charter school and the students of your school to better it. And so that's my only objective here. And I'm saying this because I went out of my speech, but I needed that to be said so I can clear with my 7 charter schools. That's the first and foremost. They do their mission. Whatever their mission may be, I've always supported it. When Senator Will Castro calls him Madam Chair, blah, blah, he has great ideas. Go for it, take the lead. I'm not one leader that's going to say, oh, I could care less. Real people know at the end of the day that great leaders have great people. It's just the way it works. I've understood this time and time again. And I have great people. That's why I'm a good leader. Because the people beside me, you know, they don't have to like my decision, but I always tell them it's the best thing. I'm looking for the greater good. And whether they understand it or not, you don't have to like me, but respect my decision. And that's, at the end of the day, what it is. And I'll continue, by the way. I need that to be clarified for all my 7 charter schools, senators. And I just want to say, as a governing body responsible for the stewardship of Guam's charter school system, the council recognizes the importance of transparency, accountability, fiscal responsibility, and the progress of each charter school in meeting student academic achievement expectations specified for each charter school, just to name a few. That is what the council's responsible for. So when it deals with money, guess what? At the end of the day, when we come before this budget hearing or this committee, the council is, at the end of the day, reports this to the senators. Okay? And it says that today, Bill 238 COR will be more efficient to the current disconnection between the council and the Board of Trustees or the school. That's all it is. There is a disconnect there, and we're just trying to connect it. Okay? The council has no mandate or law to or with the Board of Trustees. I'm making that clear. They are full autonomy. But even if full autonomy has their directors, they have the Board of Commissioners. And that's what I'm saying. This is what makes charter schools dynamic and different and works. It works better because it allows these expertise to do their job without any added bureaucracy. Okay? This is the dynamics of the charter schools. What I'm not okay with, senators, is that there is no tangible connection between the council that needs to know beforehand and not after the fact. This bill will strategically align for the greater good of all charter schools, their Board of Trustees, and the council. Again, transparency and efficiency are the key to passing this bill. Okay? Today, I have written testimony, and I'll provide it to you, senators, that the 7 charter schools have their written testimony, or they will verbally testify. Whatever they are opposed or in support of, I'm here to tell you, as the council, is the betterment for the charter school as a whole. And with that said, I want to add that with the amendment is not all contracts, not all memoranda of agreement or understanding that we're going to review. Oh my God, I will not have a real job. What I'm saying, senators, is that any contract big enough for $100,000 or more will be approved. We'll go through the same process. The Board of Trustees will approve it. Then it comes to the council. So we can have it for the record. So we know beforehand and not after the fact. That's all we're saying. They still have their autonomy. Okay? I genuinely believe that this legislation will strengthen the governance practices enhance public trust, and support the long-term success of Guam's 7 charter schools, and will grow. We urge the legislature, along with its amendments, to pass Bill number 200-38 COR. And I thank you, Senators, for your continued commitment to educational excellence on Guam and being responsible leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cepeda. And next will Ms. Helen Nishiara.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman Vince Borja, Honorable Senator Shelley Calvo, Honorable Speaker Anthony Atta, and Senator Gumatauta when he comes. Before I go into my testimony, I wanted to clarify because Ms. Vanjie said, I learned, and I'm hoping that she said, I learned because I'm sitting next to her. I've been very, very good, honestly, and she's on my speed dial, so we're good, right? I'm hoping. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments on the proposed amendment to the charter law concerning charter school procurement oversight. While I fully understand and appreciate the intent of this legislation to promote transparency and accountability, I must respectfully express that I am not in support of the bill in its current form. And that's the beauty of the relationship with our chairman and us. We don't have to necessarily have the same opinion, but we do have conversations, and this is what is happening right now. We're having a conversation, and this I really appreciate. Each fiscal year, charter schools submit to both the Guam Charter School Council and the Guam Legislature a detailed annual budget that itemizes all expenditures, including contracts and purchases. These submissions already provide transparency and allow for appropriate oversight. Many of our contracts, such as those for internet services, utilities, copy machines, curriculum, supplemental curriculum, and facility leases naturally exceed $10,000 due to the operational scale of the school. Another example of contracts that exceed $10,000 is our independent third-party auditor that is selected through the OPA, and this happens annually, so there is oversight in our financials. With 7 charter schools now operating, this bill would inevitably create a procurement bottleneck that hinders our ability to respond quickly to school needs. More importantly, it would reduce the autonomy and flexibility that make charter schools effective and innovative. Procurement delays are already a very well-known challenge across the government of Guam agencies, and adopting similar processes would likely produce the same results. For charter schools, which operate within tight budgets and rely on timely decisions to serve students effectively, this presents a significant concern. It should also be noted that the existing law already grants the Council robust oversight authority. Under Section 12112B, the Council has the power to require an Academy charter school to produce any book, record, paper, or document if the Council determines that such production is necessary for the Council to carry out its function under its chapter. The provision gives the Council ample ability to request and review contracts or any financial documents deemed necessary. Further, under Section 12112D, the Council is immune from civil liability, both personally and professionally, for any act or omission within the scope of their duties. It may be worthwhile to consider an amendment clarifying that this immunity extends to any actions, decisions, or contracts made by an Academy charter school, so that the Council's authority and protections are clearly defined without imposing additional layers of legislative control that could hinder school operations. It is also important to recall a recent court opinion affirming that the government claims cannot be filed against government for the actions of the Academy Charter School, as charter schools are not government agencies or entities. This distinction reinforces the charter schools operate independently and are directly accountable for their own actions and fiscal decisions. I would, however, support strengthening the existing accountability provisions within Sections 12114A by adding Section 7. has repeatedly failed to submit, this is for, I don't think I was clear in this one, this is where the council has the authority to revoke or to put on probation a charter school, which I do know that there has been in the past conversations with the Charter School Council in regards to putting charter schools in probation, but the Charter School Council worked with the schools to get them out of that period. So this shows, again, the dialogue between the council and the charters. This is what I had suggested, has repeatedly failed to submit requested documents by the council. This may include a request to submit any contract over $250,000 at least 30 days prior to enactment for the council awareness. And 8, failed to complete an annual audit with the Office of Public Accountability, which this is where our Madam Chair gets hit hard a lot in terms of accounting for our financial accountability. These additions would directly address concerns for transparency and compliance without compromising charter schools' autonomy. It is important to emphasize that Academy charter schools already submit an annual budget, and collectively, our total allocation represents roughly 35% of what is provided to the government, to Guam Department of Education. Despite this limited expenditure, the charter school system has worked precisely because of its ability to operate autonomously and pivot quickly to meet student needs. We fully recognize that it is our responsibility to act with fiscal discipline and accountability, knowing that the government cannot serve as a safety net for any mismanagement or miscalculations. Mistakes will occur, but with the support of the current council and its leadership, charter schools have demonstrated the ability to self-correct and strengthen its internal controls. At present, the council chair's strong support has placed charter school as a priority. However, this bill appears to be written with her leadership in mind and does not provide protection from future council leadership who hold different values or less supportive stance towards charter school. It is important to ensure that the policy supports both accountability and the independent spirit of charter schools, regardless of who serves at the council. In conclusion, I respectfully urge the legislature to reconsider this measure. By reinforcing the council's existing statutory authority and enhancing compliance provisions, the legislature can achieve transparency and accountability without undermining the autonomy and flexibility that makes charter school systems successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sierra. Dr. McNinch, I'm sorry. Dr. McNinch.
Thank you, Senator. May I defer to the others? My comments are a little bit indirect, not specific, so I'd prefer that the others speak first. Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll move to the next one on the list would be Ms. Santiago.
Good morning, half a day chairperson, Honorable Shelly Calvo, Senator Anthony, Vice Speaker Senator Anthony Alda, and Senator Gumatao. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Guam Academy Charter School. Today, we respectfully submit our input regarding Bill number 200-38. First and foremost, we wish to express our full understanding of the intent of the bill in promoting greater accountability and responsibility in the management of public funds within Guam's charter school system. GACS, Guam Academy Charter School, shares the legislature's commitment to transparency, fiscal integrity, and the responsible use of taxpayer resources. For the past 5 consecutive years, GACS has been granted unmodified and clean audit opinions by the Guam Office of Public Accountability, a distinction that underscores our responsible stewardship of public funds, effective controls, internal controls, and adherence to all fiscal reporting standards. Additionally, GAC's consistent record of unexpended balances at the close of each fiscal year further demonstrates our disciplined financial management and prudent spending practices. We have learned and proven to live within our means. These accomplishments were achieved through full compliance with the existing procurement laws and regulations outlined in Title V, GCA, Chapter 5, which is the procurement law. Our adherence to these laws has guided us in maintaining transparency, competitiveness, and accountability in all purchasing and contractual engagements, without the need for additional approval layers. However, GACS respectfully raises serious concerns regarding the proposed expansion of the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council's authority under Section 2G of the bill, which may unintentionally hinder the operational efficiency and autonomy and the legal integrity of the charter school operations, particularly those with a proven track record of fiscal responsibility and compliance. May we ask for your consideration in hearing two specific concerns. First, it's the operational delays and redundancy with nonprofit governance requirements. Charter schools operate as a nonprofit organizations governed by their articles of incorporation, bylaws, and the Guam General Corporation Law, which is Title 18 GCA, which already prescribe fiduciary duties and accountability structures, requiring prior council approval for all contract agreements, regardless of dollar amount or nature, introduces redundant bureaucracy that could disrupt the timely execution of essential services, such as facility maintenance, procurement of educational materials, or professional partnerships. Such procedural delays undermine the autonomy and flexibility envisioned under the Guam Charter School Act and compromise a charter school's ability to operate efficiently and responsively to students' needs. Furthermore, the Council already possesses sufficient oversight authority under existing law, Section 12112 of Title 17 GCA. It empowers the Council to monitor school operations, fiscal performance, and compliance. In addition, Section 12114A, 3 and 4 explicitly authorize the Council to place a charter school on probation or revoke its charter for failure to comply with applicable laws, charter terms, and fiscal accountability standards. These provisions already provide robust oversight without imposing new, duplicative, and administratively burdensome pre-approval requirements that could stifle efficient operations. The second concern is the Council's expanded authority to approve legal contracts without legal or financial resources and expertise. Bill number 200-38 seeks to require the Council to review and approve all MOAs, all contracts, Memorandum of Understanding, and similar binding agreements prior to execution. While the goal to strengthen oversight is commendable, such authority places the Council into a contract-approving body, a legal and fiduciary position requiring professional expertise. With respect, will the Council receive additional funding or resources to handle these complex and time-consuming responsibilities? Council members who primarily serve in policy and oversight capacities may not possess the resources and qualifications to assess the legality or enforceability of binding agreements. This change could inadvertently expose both the Council and our charter schools to legal and financial risks, particularly if Council approval substitutes for the role of a certified legal counsel. A safeguard that GACS, Guam Academy Charter School, consistently enforces and budgets for annually. This new role blurs the clear line between oversight and operational management as defined in existing law. On behalf of GACS, we would respectfully ask the legislature to reconsider or amend Section 2G and offer some recommendations. First, establish a reasonable financial threshold, example 100,000, consistent to the procurement law. For the Council to review to ensure efficiency and proportionality. 2, authorize the council to develop clear rules and regulations for addressing schools with liabilities exceeding their fund levels or over a specified period, including opportunities for corrective action and due process before revocation. 3rd, limit the council's role to oversight and rather than pre-approval. Require charter schools as well to submit executed contracts and agreements to the council for monitoring and record purposes. These modifications will preserve the integrity of fiscal oversight while ensuring that charter schools remain responsive, efficient, and compliant, and maintain the operational independence necessary to fulfill their educational mission. In closing, Guam Academy Charter School reaffirms its commitment in transparency, fiscal responsibility, and collaboration with the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council and the Guam Legislature. We are for strengthening accountability measures, yet we stand to be heard in our concerns regarding the bill in its present form and verbiage or language. We hope that the body will carefully reconsider our recommendations and adopt reforms that are balanced with operational practicality and respect for the governance structures that have allowed schools like GACs to perform successfully and responsibly without compromising efficiency and autonomy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Next, Senator Will Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Affidavits and buenos dias para todos samzu, iman senador and senadora. Dispensa no I posisyon ho sa ti itensyon ho na be faktuzo na be na halom I testigo ho. Lo, anay ho tay gi WhatsApp nay gi as mensahin si Sinai Helen that it would be in our best interest if we at least had a physical presence. I took it upon myself to be here. Lo, I beg your indulgence in terms of my overall disposition. Ni nayan na be matuzo gigo mata iguma itaw-taw-tano zati by usay ko bata. So dispensa, I beg your indulgence for not being in my typical attire and a suit and tie that would be appropriate to addressing such an august body. But as you can see, I brought my props. And actually, these are functional tools of my everyday life in a charter school. Being a charter school of 200 students, I am actually a 10th grade English teacher as well, for the record. Lo, antes no para bay hu tutuhun, mas malago na bay sangani esti na bula no gay respituhu, bula na guay no bula no gunadzakko para hogu, gehilo vanji sapeda. I really support and appreciate all that the good chair has done to advance our collective charter school voice. Senators, it wasn't my intent to submit written testimony today, but I feel compelled. We have a candygram that's going on today. I have paddling practice that my kids are preparing for. We have a bowling practicum that needs to happen. But it's so essential that I come before you to share my thoughts, even if it's from right here or from my experience based on the proposed legislation. Pako no hutay estina priniponi kulan no fifiganzo. Like niya stino amiguho gi WhatsApp mo nga mausad sa na palabra figan. And I asked him, why? Why would figan not be appropriate? Figan is a word used to describe, right, like when you're really worked up, colloquial, pissed off. And I'm worked up because if you open the bill and you read the specificity of what you're proposing, you're really undoing all the good things that has allowed our charter system to thrive. Ungan, bula no guahano plebemahu gi eskwelaku. Who here doesn't have problems? Right? But I've never seen legislation either as a senator or in my entire professional career as an educator. I've been in private school systems. I've been at the top of the food chain of DOE with the exception of being appointed superintendent, although I ranked pretty high the last time I checked when I did apply. I'm leading a small school on the beach. And I can tell you that to mandate $10,000 agreements and above is overreach. Is overreach, is overreach, is overreach. Hadzi sinya gi oficina ni council puna taitay sa apreba all the employment contracts when I need an emergency special education CRT. Who's going to review the employment agreements? We use employment agreements. I don't know what my colleagues use, but we're not the Gov Guam GG1 type approach. So we use employment agreements. Which one of you has both the depth, the width, the experience, the time and effort? And forgive me, this is not directed to any professional staff, more than it is trying to make a point. Do you have the time and effort at the state level to review over 100 employment agreements? Who of you has the standing to advise me on whether or not I can hire a master navigator, notwithstanding the fact that he or she doesn't have a certificate or a diploma? Or who of you is going to come down and take a look at which six-man outrigger I'm going to use on the beach that my school is so blessed to be on? Hadzi, Hamzu ki legislator, por favor. And I'm malago talo para senador, and I gannazo be undo todo este na clause in intention mizu. Lo, I'm so happy I had the privilege to talk to you, Mr. Chairman, this morning. And I read the good chair's recommended amendment, and I support it 100%. Who is going to stand in the way of the need for enhanced oversight? My goodness, come down any day of the week, Saturday and Sunday. If we're cutting grass, Mr. Chairman, just give me a minute or two to dry up. But what you ask me, what do you want to see? You want to see how many times we ordered pizza from Agate, the Agate Pizza Hut? I mean, I didn't even realize that photocopy machine contracts at one of my colleagues' schools is in excess of 10,000. I want to go make copies there now. But sarcasm aside, the truth is, I don't think anyone here has the time to review every single transaction. I don't think that's really the intent. And I would challenge even the supposition of the narrative of the legislative intent that doing so would increase educational equality or quality. Por favor. Really? Come down and we'll talk about educational quality when we're funded at 60% of the state level education system. Come down when half my teachers are not certified and you talk to me about memorizing the star chart. You want to talk educational quality? Come on down. Let's have that discussion. Use those tools that reasonable people would use, such as pick up the phone. Come talk to me. Call me in. That's you. If you want to spank me on the wrist, por favor, as a professional, come on down and let's have this conversation. You're gonna scare all of us into the same net because of one or two transgressions. I make no qualms about assuming full responsibility for my operation. Yes, we have some challenges with previous year's fiscal year audits, but I assure you, as my professional reputation is on the line as an educator, I will redress those. And if you want to find out exactly how, you can ask the good chair, because she's copied on that. As a matter of fact, the Office of the Public Auditor is copied on what we call corrective actions. They're the ones who incorporated it in the final report. To be frank, actually to be precise, the auditors did. I don't want to take too much more of your valuable time, as I'm sure my kids are waiting for an additional car to help them deliver candygrams because someone fell through. But that's okay. You see, those are the challenges of charter schools. Employment agreements, curricula. You want to review my online platform and my curricula? You know, audit? You want to review the auditor's contract? I mean, how many layers of bureaucracy does it require for you to feel appeased and satisfied that we met the general requirement to speak to how we use the people of Guam? It's funny, be reminded that I'm not on that body, that I am the people of Guam too, that I am a taxpayer, that I can speak my mind, free of redress and public scrutiny, certainly free of your ability to bespeak me in public. I ask you and plead with you. It doesn't stop there. It says similar binding agreements, which is, I'm qualifying, employment contracts. I spoke to the canoe and the master navigator. As you can see, I didn't prepare formal testimony, but when I have time to get to you, I will. I'll resubmit it so it's as articulate and well-founded as my previous findings and briefings I've sent to other charter schools on other matters of concern. Proposed solutions include things like round tables, a Zoom meeting, pick up the phone. We can upload our contracts. You can mandate that. My God, we don't even need you to mandate that. You just ask me. Pass a resolution. Have continued discussions of proposed amendments. I can't say for the record right now whether the $100,000 proposed amendment is a good enough of a threshold. It depends. For what? I mean, just let's talk, right? Let's not react. Let me tell you the bottom line, where I'm at. What we have is probably what almost every administrator, in the territory, in this unincorporated territory of these United States throughout the Marianas would love, site-based management. In effect, that's what we have. We have site-based management. We can't even receive funds unless we provide an invoice after the fact. And so my rhetoric to my colleagues in a chat, because I was attempting to spare my colleagues, my former colleagues, and you, para todos hamzu y honorably, all you honorable representatives of the people, my rhetoric. But if you want to do something for us, increase the per capita so we're not doing at par or better than our counterparts. I want to support the state education system. I will go back there and I will contribute again. But at 60% of what it takes to educate a child, por favor. No one's done anything, to the best of my knowledge, that would enable us legally to competitively apply for national funding for buildings. I haven't even put it on the table, Mr. Chairman, that we were underfunded. We're not even funded when you compare us to the state level education system for capital improvement projects. You spend millions. Now you're proposing to refinance over $75 million and not a dollar for charters? We can have this great debate on how it stands, but I did propose something. I put something in your ear. Set aside money as a security against what we have. Right? I'm not asking for your money. I'm asking for security because we don't have any real standing to invest in these buildings, right? So we haven't done anything for per capita. We haven't done anything to increase the student enrollment caps for my school, 200, and we're growing. Okay, we haven't done anything to allow us to go get money for ourselves, which I know we're very capable of. Instead, we have some concerns about some findings about one or more schools, and so we're going to extend this broad stroke to stifle innovation and flexibility. I know the intent is good, Mr. Chairman, as reiterated by the good chair. I was unaware of her proposed amendment of the threshold of $100,000, but I do reserve the right to state my tremendous reservation. Este talo bisangani. Ti baba estina priniponi. Lo ti gos maulik. It's not a bad bill, it's a terrible bill in its current form. Thank you. Si Diyos masay para este no oportunidad, gehilo, Senador Ada, kampailaku, hago, parentesulokwi, Senadora Calvo. Thank you for the privilege to speak before you.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Next, we'll have Speaker Wanpet. Are you going to speak, or? Thank you. You may.
Buenas and half a day, honorable senators. Mr. Chairman, Vice Speaker Ada, Senator Calvo, and sorry that Senator Gumatauto is not here with us this morning. I am Judith Wanpat, the Chief Advisor to the Governor in Education. I'm not here, though, representing the Governor, but here as the original author of the charter school law. My intention when drafting the original charter school law was to provide a framework for a novel educational concept on Guam. Acknowledging its imperfections, I anticipated a period of learning and adjustment. The law aimed to grant charter schools operational independence, shielding them from excessive governmental red tape. To ensure their success, I established them as a public charter school, free from tuition and eligible for government funding to support its operations. Since the inception and through trials and errors, as pointed out by the public auditor, I understand the need to amend the law to protect the taxpayers' dollars and at the same time to ensure educational quality. While I had envisioned a system of independent operation, the findings of the Office of the Public Accountability have illuminated critical areas where the current law falls short. The audits have revealed serious concerns regarding unvalidated expenses, inadequate financial controls, and a lack of accountability in the procurement, spending, and overall governance. This situation has unfortunately created a fear of potential liabilities for the government. The Council has been very supportive and have diligently followed the charter law, but they are limited in their powers to holding the charter schools accountable for their expenses. They have no oversight of the schools. Because these are local appropriations, the Charter Council has to have oversight of public funds and ensure compliance with the procurement laws. Therefore, robust oversight of public funds and adherence to procurement laws are essential for charter schools, just as they are for all GovGuam entities. As outlined in the bill, these measures are crucial for transparency and safeguarding public interest, all while preserving the operational autonomy of charter schools. GovGuam practices require oversight of public funds and compliance with procurement laws, and the charter schools should not be different. As stated in the bill, it is important for transparency and to safeguard public interest. If I may, I think that threshold amount should be based on some data. I suggest that all the charter schools submit a list maybe of requisitions, POs, MOUs, contracts, or what have you, so that then the committee would be able to look at the different ranges and the number of those requisitions or contracts coming in. So you can, and there's no magic number, so it can be anywhere between, if you want 10,000 to 50,000, or range from 50,000 to 100,000, or 100,000 to 200,000, whatever it is. It will be totally dependent on the information that you're getting, what the schools are actually showing. Then will you be able to make a decision based on the number of those documents being sent in. So raising the threshold, however, for oversight will enable the Council to concentrate on substantial expenditures rather than being bogged down by numerous smaller requests. The overall objective is to ensure that the Council has enough authority to protect public funds. In this age of accountability and limited resources, charter schools have to demonstrate that they are performing. In addition, being prudent in expending taxpayers' dollars will bring credibility and accountability to the charter schools. The Council's role extends to ensuring rigorous oversight of public funds allocated to charter schools, a critical responsibility to uphold the integrity of the financial system and the public's trust. This oversight is not merely a procedural step, but a fundamental safeguard to ensure strict compliance with all applicable procurement laws and regulations. Furthermore, this financial scrutiny is instrumental in mitigating various financial risks that could potentially impact the stability and effectiveness of charter schools. In closing, the Council's oversight functions to protect the broader public interest. This involves ensuring that taxpayer money is utilized efficiently, effectively, and in alignment with the educational mission of charter schools without waste or mismanagement. Crucially, while exercising this vital oversight, the Council is committed to preserving the operational autonomy of charter schools. This means striking a delicate balance, providing robust financial accountability without unduly interfering with the day-to-day management, innovative pedagogical approaches, or unique educational philosophies that define and distinguish charter schools. This goal is to create an environment where charter schools can thrive creatively and educationally, supported by responsible financial stewardship and strong public trust. And if I may just add other notes in terms of having to have heard the different testimonies of the CEOs or of the different charter schools, and I have to say is that I'm very much impressed and have seen actually the growth and maturity of many of our charter schools. I believe that a lot of the comments, of course, as part of the audit, may have stemmed from some other issues possibly in the past, and I understand that. And because of that, then the whole idea here is to prevent any future liabilities. This is more to protect the charter schools, and that's my intention of wanting to protect the charter schools, because these are very limited resources that they can get from the department. And I say this primarily because when they started, it was at $5,500 per child, and they have, in the number of years, have eventually been able to increase the per pupil cost. So I want the charter schools to be successful, but I want them also to make sure that they are fiduciarily responsible, for the monies that they receive, and that they are able then to show the entire community, of course, that they can be trusted with the funds, the taxpayers' monies that they're given this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Speaker Wombat. Dr. Minich?
Did Attorney Phillips like to go first? Okay, I see. Okay, I'm just...
Were you going to speak? You didn't have the check that you were going to give oral testimony. Would you like to? My apologies. On here, it wasn't. Oh, okay.
Okay, so thank you. I just always defer to my learned legal colleague on many issues. Thank you. Thank you, Senators and Hafaday. My name is Ron McNinch, and I am an elected school board member. The elections are next fall. Please vote for me. God bless Guam, and God bless America. I have to say, this is almost the second hour into this hearing, and we have 4 of our 15 senators here. Education is always considered the priority, yet many are called, but few are chosen, and we have 4 senators here that showed up. Of course, the Chairman, Senator Borja, Senator Gumatauta, Senator Tony Atta, and of course, Senator Shelley Calvo. Thank you very much. Demonstrating that you care for education through listening to the community and listening to our input is very, very important. I don't have specific items to say about charter schools per se this morning, but I did want to make a couple of very, very quick comments. I believe that we need to have a larger view of our education system, and we need to look at what works and what doesn't work. And that includes how we can integrate best practices at our charter schools into our greater school system, because they're doing something very, very right, and we're not learning from it at our other schools. And so that's one point. The second thing is we've talked about site-based management for various schools, which would be a variant of almost charter schools. I believe that every Guam school child should have the opportunity to be educated at an institution that operates like a charter school, because there's good things that they're doing there. But I think that healthy conversations in this regard need to really take place. Also, I forget, but are charter school teachers certified by the Guam teacher certification process? Now, that might be an indication of why they have such high quality. Yeah, I'm just saying. I think that we need to work on our teacher pipeline. I think we need to have our energetic young people going from the university and GCC into our public school systems to be role models, and they'll bring a lot of good energy to our education process. I know the University of Guam as well as GCC would be active partners in this process. I have to say I look forward to what's ahead for education. But I encourage senators Senator Borja and your colleagues to please look at the larger issues on how we can learn from what we're doing and learn how we can make things better in education. And thank you certainly for this few moments today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McNinch. Attorney Phillips, I am sorry. There was some oversight on the listing. You were supposed to be like the third person, and we just didn't check your name. I'm really sorry. I apologize for that. But go ahead. Sorry, you can have all the time you want.
Oh, no, you don't want to say that. She knows. Everybody here just said, oh, no. But thank you. Really, if I had enough time to not bother people, I would spend half of it talking about our chair, because listening to her, I'm somewhat conflicted, because when she says the organization, for example, the Charter School Council needs this authority and all that, but you got it with her. I mean, has there ever been a time that you've asked for something that at least I speak for Mount Carmel maybe, that we haven't complied with?
No, you guys are, all of you are amazing.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. I figured every school is like ours, because when the chair or Feli, it could be anything, email, message, anything, we jump. And I actually learned that my very first meeting, because ordinarily schools are competitive and maybe not in a healthy way. I walked in and she was explaining to us that in this organization, there's no cutthroat. Everybody's supportive of each other. And so I'm not exaggerating when I say it's even affected sports to some example, to some degree, because we keep remembering that we're competing with fellow charter schools, and we are a big family. And when she was speaking that very first meeting, I thought, well, that's a lofty goal, but I haven't seen it here. I've known Vanjie for probably 30 years, right? Yeah. And the organization we were in is the disorganized organization. And so for that reason also, I thought there's no way, but she's delivered. And she's right, because of everybody's participation. She didn't really say it, but I heard others say it, so I'm going to ask, in case somebody knows, what are the deficiencies or the wrongdoings that, quite frankly, I've heard people speak about? I didn't see any. Our school got a clean audit, but the reason I say that isn't because I'm challenging someone to prove me wrong. It's to say the name and then hold that person accountable. If you look at that, I'm a half-time criminal defense attorney. If you look at our laws, that's the way it works. Senator Ada's a proponent of some of the most strict, but he doesn't govern the person ahead of time. He says, if you do this, I'm warning you, it's in the books, if you do this, there's a place for you in Manila. And it really should be the same here. Among the charter schools, including our chair, we know the names of some people who did some very not so nice things, but nothing's done. And what happens is a bill comes out, and I'm not saying it's the motivation for the bill, but clearly it's the motivation, in my opinion, for some of the discussion here, because people feel free to say, well, there are some problems. What problems? There's none. And for Mount Carmel, I can say you can't get any cleaner than a clean audit. But even though it wasn't raised, I kind of sense the elephant in the room is SIFA, because it's not true. And I asked my staff to bring this for anybody that wants to read it. Senator, you have no reason to remember, but you were in the audience when I spoke before the Board of Education, and I challenged the landlord, the plaintiff at that time in another case, to come forward and say something in public, because I knew that that person was going to the board members, or some of them, behind closed doors. Now you have a bill like this, but again, you don't have that person here, but they're talking out there. And so apparently they've spoken to reporters and all that, but I have it right here. Because boy, believe me, I'll be sued if I'm saying something wrong and defaming them, because what we're saying does defame them if it's not true. The fact that no, they had nothing. In fact, their second lawsuit, they didn't even ask for any money. They weren't entitled to any. But the benefit, and it was quite frankly my challenge and I was mistaken, when they sued, I thought, oh, it's slam dunk. You can't just sue the government. You've got to file a government claim, as was explained earlier. Judge Kwong wrote a very authoritative opinion. I didn't have any reason to appeal it because I looked at it and I said, well, he's right. It's not government. Government is not liable. So the whole concept of let's protect government funds does not exist. And there's a court order that explains that. Does not exist. And so, you know, I'm not going to name a certain organization because they're going to ask me, Mike, why did you use this as an example? But let's say ABC nonprofit, and they receive government funds. Well, the only thing that I don't know what rules they operate under. I can go back and because there's not very much, but I can say this that for the charter schools, the procurement laws are very, very strict. I've done this now for 18 years, and in October 18 years ago, when our parents at Mount Carmel were told that our group is taking over the foundation, one lady, very upset, made the best point that I've heard so far in education, and I've adopted it as my philosophy, and that's this. My daughter just finished the first quarter of her 7th grade year. She'll never get it back, ever. What are you going to do? And while I didn't have an answer, I adopted that, and I turned to the vice chair of our foundation, and I said, I like that. And so yesterday, I asked my executive assistant to tell our procurement person that I'd like procurement to operate like this. We get a request, we get it out that morning, and then we get another one out in the afternoon. Now she texts back, she said, well, you know, as my former principal, Bill Sarmento said, don't say names, but my executive assistant's name is Shyla, and Shyla texted back, Mike, Penny said you're crazy. Well, but hear me out, because from your side, I think it's justified to ask me this. Mike, we've been paying $75, then thanks to Vanji and your support, $7,800 per student. But why don't those students have it? Because I would think that when you're appropriating it, you kind of want it to go to those students that year. It can't. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there isn't anybody here who knows how to do it, but I'm being honest with you, we're not able to do that. The clock that it takes, and Will really has a solid point about coming down, because we're able to bring on certain faculty and others that would be able to tell you, if I had this, these kids would be able to learn this. If you come down, let's talk with Brandon Vera and explain to him why we have the budget, but we can't outfit the martial arts room. The first thing you're going to say is, wow, you guys really did a lot here. Yeah, but not at Brandon Vera's level. He's a world champion. Patrick Palomo in music. I mean, I will never understand the complexity of what Patrick understands, but I'm not able to deliver for him because of the fact that we have very strict procurement rules. And, you know, we can go on and on and on with all the ideas. Under this bill, we would not be able to contract with the Department of Defense. And they've explained to us, Department of War, we want that. And yet, we're not able to enter into that agreement with them, which is a $150,000 agreement for 1 year, and then $10,000 to $15,000, I believe, to outfit our rooms, our industrial arts room after that. We, a couple weeks ago, were granted another extension of our WASC accreditation. And we've been fully accredited and have remained fully accredited. But my point is this, that rather than the structure at the beginning to protect all of us and the students, how about the penalty? Nobody here will say the name. I'm not going to say the name. I'll be the first to admit, right? We all know who it is, but nobody will say the name. I'll tell you this, in my practice, criminal defense, they say the name every single time. And then they hand you a paper and you report to DOC. That's really the proposal I think would work best, because we all know, number one, that with regard to procurement, if we violate, you can get in big trouble. But number two, And again, I think it was Will and maybe someone else that was explaining that at the Department of Administration, you can't just show up and say, I'd like to buy this, can you give me the money? It's the reverse. So I've had to explain to vendors like Buzzy at Townhouse and representing Yamaha that no, it's not that we don't trust you, it's just the way government works. You have to actually give us everything before we pay you. Now in real life, we know even with friends, if I say, give me everything and then I'll pay you, most people say, no, 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 money up front. And so we've had to work with that, but for what it's worth, that's the protection that you have, senators, is that we can't spend money unless we have the product. And I think that's an enormous protection, but I'm still a little bit confused about the intent that everybody talks about, because if it's CIFA, then you've been greatly misled. And again, like anything else said in public, if I'm wrong, I pay the price. But the public auditor has asked CIFA to go after these people. So we started out with these people making CIFA look bad, and then now, understandably, the public auditor is putting pressure on CIFA, and to some extent myself, to go after these people. And you won't find that, though, in the newspaper, right? CIFA's damage is, I mean, their reputation is destroyed. Destroyed. And maybe their name should be on this bill. I'm not sure. Because how else can people line up here and say, yeah, you know, there's mistakes and everything's wrong? Where? I don't see it. And the visit to the schools, like I said, for me, with regard to my faculty, I'd like you to explain to them, and I don't mean it in a bad way, because I can't, why you can bring on somebody or you can have an idea and not have it taken care of immediately. The Department of Defense, to a large extent, brought through Joe Cruz, who's a member of our foundation. I told Joe that I would like to have the Industrial Arts Room set up before we begin that contract with them. And then I started to listen to myself, and it's like, you know, everybody at the school, I'm sure, thinks I'm crazy already because of the timelines that we try to set. But the truth is that that is a near impossibility, and it shouldn't be. You're giving us the money. It's not that we don't have the money, it's that we're not allowed to spend it. And so now we're going to put further restrictions on expenditure. When, quite frankly, I don't know of anybody that's able to go out and do things that would not violate the law. And we all, at least I think we all know who did it. We all know the group or groups, under the name, I should say, or names that are responsible. But they're getting off scot-free. And I'll tell you, in my other life as a criminal defense attorney, that wouldn't work. There's no penalty, and you don't even say the name. But they're protected. Now that's one thing, but then if you turn around and say, because of them doing this and getting away with it, we're going to enact a law that maybe prevents you guys from doing the same. It's very unfair, and really, I don't think I'm too far out of line when I say that the expenditures, if any, and the obligations, and Vanjie's been completely supportive. Personally, I would be afraid to do something that didn't have her blessing, honestly. I mean, it's just the way it is. And it's, don't get me wrong, Vanjie can come across real strong enough. It's not that. It's that she delivers for you. So when you have somebody that delivers for you, you want to do everything you can to support them. And so it's mutual. And she's really delivered in every shape and form. But I don't wish upon her what happens at the AG's office. And I know that from representing the port for 8 years. At the Attorney General's office, I'm sure they have like a hotline, because they just receive one call after another. Can you get the contract? Can you get the contract? Can you get the contract? I used to run into Carl Espadon at a Civil Service Commission hearing. And I would be thinking to myself, is this the appropriate time to bug him about that contract. And I decided not to, but the Attorney General's office is not equipped for all kinds of reasons to be able to review the number of contracts that Vanji and Feli would have to review. You really would need to give them a budget. She deserves a budget right now for all that they do. Really, I mean, she's providing a service to the government of Guam that if you're looking for a valid expense, that's one. And I really hope that there's in the future a more candid, transparent, and believe me, Senator, it's not you. I think a lot of us here are responsible for that. And, you know, they're going to tell me later on, Mike, of course I couldn't say their name. Yeah, I know, and that's fine. I'm not one to go out and badmouth people. It happened. But when you say, and because it happened, all of us are going to have to do that, whoa, that's not right. That's very, very unfair. What should happen is those that performed adequately or even good should be rewarded, and there should be accountability, and the accountability by its very definition comes after. Creating these structures at the beginning really defeats what you can see. I'm not kidding when I invite you down, and I'll show you our 3 pillars, and you can see me try to explain to those experts in their fields why I can't get something when if they were to go on the internet, it can be delivered in 2 weeks. And our students are there, and I can't explain to them why you have all been so gracious and have given us, for example, $700, $800, and I can't get it to them for between 2 to 3 years. It's, you know, it's for their protection, I need to tell them, because of all the laws and procurement, and that's what it takes. It really does. And it's unfortunate, but that squashes ideas and enthusiasm, and it can be done. It can, and our students really do deserve the education that is possible. All my years, whether at GW or working for the elected school board or otherwise, I never knew that education was so possible. Dr. Aline Yamashita always acted like it was, and I kept thinking, gosh, she's really admirable because she's a trooper. But over these years, I've learned it really is possible, and it is about the methodology, and it is about structure. And I thank Dr. Wampat for creating what at the very beginning, I think, including myself, were very skeptical about a charter school. But I've seen it in operation now, and we have a lot of the unsung heroes, Dr. Judy Wampat, and of course Vanji, and the senators that appropriate that money. But I beg you, please don't attach this to it, because it'll be the one thing that it stifles what you should expect that those of us involved are doing with the money that you give us. And Vanji can come down on us. But the pre-arrangement is really the opposition that I have. And it's not, some of you can see, I didn't put support or oppose, because that's not why I'm here. I just wanted to provide that information. And I'll say it, especially with SIFA, because SIFA was wrongly accused of things. And in the media, I'm not sure, I guess it was a juicy story, but right now, and I think Vanji may have heard that the public auditor is asking us to go after those people. And so, you know, that's really, really different from what the climate may be out there with regard to, oh, we know there's some wrongdoing and all that. I don't know. And if there is, say the name, and let's hold that person accountable. That's really the only fair way. Our students deserve that, because I can't explain to our students why we're not getting something because someone else, that no one wants to say their name, did something wrong. And you just got to understand that's how it works. They don't understand. They're there to learn, and they really can. And I thank you so much for your support. Thank Vanji, Dr. Wampan, everybody.
Thank you, Attorney Phillips.
Thank you.
And, you know, I start with Senator Calvo, I'll make some comments because I want to ensure that this bill is not as a result of any specific school. I will share, since I became, I took on the position as a chair on ed, and meeting with Vanjie back in January or February, I think, when I first got inaugurated, one of the conversations, of course, is how can we help? Right. Of course, one of the biggest things that she continues to advocate for, obviously, is we want to increase our per student capita. We want to increase funding, right, or the per student costs. But again, it always comes down to with the rest of my colleagues. I'm just a new politician, right? So I haven't consumed the Kool-Aid, right? So I'm not here trying to say things that are politically correct, but as we continue to have the discussions within the committee and with the rest of my colleagues, things get brought up. Well, this is why we oppose this, or this is why we are not ready to do whatever to fund, right? Is because of these issues, right? I'm not one to put dirty laundry out there, and I'm just that type of person, right? So I could have sat here and said, these are the 500 reasons why. I'm not saying that there's 500 reasons why I think this is a good measure. But of course, 100% of the time when your chair and I would speak on, hey, these are the issues that have been raised, or even after the fact, here are some other issues that have come up, 100% of the time her response is always, I don't necessarily know until after the fact. And that's because of the way the law is set up. Not that she's never said they need to answer to me. It's, I have no way to have oversight to what happens within the schools or the charter schools until usually when it happens. And that's where the conversation kept leading to where, okay, how do we give you that oversight, not so that you have control, because at the end of the day, right, and this is the way I viewed it when I got elected and took this committee, is that just like GDOE, I work through the board. I don't go to the school principals. I don't go to the deputies in regards to the problems or issues that arise, whether it be through the students and staff or through the parents or just community members, right? I respect the board's position. I respect the superintendent's position, and I will always go through them first. Now, it doesn't mean you can't come to me and I won't listen. Right, and it's the same thing with the council, and I was very clear in the beginning. I will respect your position as the council chair. Obviously, you're not just a dictator, right? You work with other members of the board or the council, and I'm assuming you get feedback from your stakeholders, which would be your schools, and then you are that voice. Because even when it came to budget, the committee or the budget chair invited the council chair. Yes, she invited brought you guys in, but at the end of the day, even when it came to questioning finances or questioning accusations, right? It was always deferred to the council chair. And so the intent when we put this bill together, and again, this is not a final bill, right? It's going to go through markup. And hopefully it works to where, not hopefully, but I'm going to hope that through the start of this conversation that we can make it work. Because I think for me, my position, just to be clear, is that there has, for me, it's how can I be comfortable to continue to advocate for more money when whether it's true or not, right? Again, like Attorney Phillips said, we're not going to say any names, but at the end of the day, I have to convince 7 other people to support this, right? And if the governor doesn't like it, we're going to have to convince 8, 9 other people. And whether we like it or not in government, right? The way to assure that things are going to work out the way we want it to be is to add all these extra steps. And believe me, I'm not a hardcore right Republican or conservative, but for me, the less government is always better. But again, working and having numerous conversations with Ms. Vanjie, trying to convince my colleagues, even through the budget discussion. Obviously, there were some other things that happened within the budget that didn't allow us, but of course, it was easy for my other colleagues, and I'm not going to say that, because I still stand on my position, but at the end of the day, because of some of the things that have happened before, right, and then looking at, hey, what are the measures to ensure that we can be good stewards of public money? What are some things that we can do so that, again, at the end of the day, it's not so that she can control it or the council has full control, but it's so that she doesn't know after the fact, because that has been the common theme when we talk about whether it be issues that has happened while I've been a senator or issues that happened prior to me becoming a senator, right? Because she even went back to things when she first became the chair of the council, as I was being questioned about all these things that even the chair before me wouldn't have known it because it happened after the fact. So I just want to be clear that although there could be some names that are thrown out there, or we can, speak about the big elephant in the room. That was never my intent. My intent is how do we, again, without putting all this additional red tape, because I get it, believe me, even here at the legislature, as much as we have a lot of freedom in how we procure things, there's still a process, right? There's still some kind of an accountability, and it frustrates me, although we can probably make it a lot easier. But that's my position, and in regards to where we're trying to go. And again, this may not be the answer, but it's the start to, again, restore. I'm not going to say, again, not everybody's the bad actors, but my intent is how do we restore some kind of trust, not just for the senators, but also for the public and the community as well.
Senator, could I ask a question? And it's kind of, as you said, the reality of life with regard to the, another word we don't say the politics, right? But that's like this. This is politics. I'm trying to convince you of something different. If CIFA were to sue these bad guys, would that change because I'm not speaking for CIFA, I'm speaking for myself, but if I knew that, then at least I can discuss it with them. I don't speak for CIFA, but I think they would like to know that if the legislature sees that they sue these people, and because that's what those guys did, what I'm calling collectively the bad guys. They sued CIFA and through media and other operations made CIFA look bad. And in the end, they weren't only bad, not bad, they are the good guys. And it takes money to file a lawsuit. It takes a lot of time, and it's not in CIFA's budget. They're not like, let's go after the bad guys. But at least I would discuss it with them if you think that CIFA suing these guys would really make the message clear that they didn't do anything wrong, and at all. I mean, but second to that, since we're talking about that, Judge Kwan's opinion is solid. First of all, and I think Vanji will confirm this, the moment that there was an allegation that there could be a very large debt, senators did not come forward saying, I'll introduce a bill and just cover it. That wasn't going to happen, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not an issue. Secondly, as far as liability is concerned, and Angie was even at the hearing, really was a mini trial. There's just no chance that government is liable. It's not. And I use that as a defense, and Judge Kwan said no. I'm glad I did. Very rarely am I glad that I lost, ever. This might be the first case. But I'm glad because Judge Kwan wrote a decision that really protects the government, and it's not because of the process, it's because of the fact that the legislation that was created is such that the charter schools are not part of the government, and they're not liable in any way, shape, or form. So there's no fear of any of that. The one fear that can exist, which I think is quite frankly mistaken, is that the charter schools are using the dollars in an inappropriate way. And I'd like to just spend 30 seconds on it. Senator, I promise I'll limit my comments to this. Alleged wrongdoing could be they didn't follow procurement. So, for example, using, my good friend Brandon, if he says, Mike, we need a speed bag, and I don't get that correctly for him. Well, technically that's wrong, and the public auditor is going to flag it. And at the end, I'm a bad guy because I got Brandon Vera his speed bag the wrong way. So it's not what people think. It's not like, how dare you got him a speed bag, and you did it in an expedited fashion. That's our crime. But it's not being committed, as far as I know. But when it is committed, because I know there's procurement violations, it's important to keep in perspective what those violations are. You have all the different rules and you didn't follow them. It's kind of like, taking a college multiple choice test, and you miss 1 out of 4, and they say, aha, you don't really know that subject area. No, I missed 1 out of 4. That's the procurement law. Those are designated, those are drafted to ensure, to the best of anybody's ability, that dollars go out the right way. It's important for people to understand that we're talking about the right way. We're not talking about to the right people. So the fact that person A bought something from person B, that's not really the equation. The equation in procurement is, did you do it the correct way? Well, who decided that's the correct way? Well, that's above our pay grade. But please understand that. We're not talking about money that went to Vanjie or went to somebody like, those would be bad purchases, right? We're talking about purchases, if ever, I'm not familiar with them, that went through the wrong process. That's it, the wrong process. It's like a child that spends money and forgot to ask dad, but he donated to the poor person on the side of the street that needed help. I mean, so it's not a bad expenditure, it's just did it without dad's permission. And it's really, I'm not trying to downplay how serious it is, but because it's being discussed, and not by you, Senator, but I guess by others, that it's just, I'm not going to say blown out of proportion. It's not true, but more importantly than that, to the extent it is, to the extent those allegations are valid, we're talking about expenditures that violate a procedure, not an end result. Now, the end of the end of that result ends up being the same person, then you've got a crime, and those people can go to jail for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, just one, go ahead.
Yes, Senator, thank you. I'd like to add on to what Mike Phillips stated. The CIFA, okay. You know, everybody said, oh, I had to spank their hand, okay. Public opinion, they did horrible. The media didn't, you know, they helped on that. They like to sensationalize on what is bad. They forgot about all the great things that charter schools do every single day. Every one of these people, to include every staff, down to the clerk, the janitorial. Like when I said this, and I said this before, I laugh because Senator Will Castro, I laugh about this because he is the CFO, whatever his position title is, and then he becomes the teacher. Then he's emptying the trash. This is what they do day in and day out. Now, if you had a union, or you had like DOE, not to put, again, this is not DOE against charter schools. You couldn't do that. Teachers only taught. You report it, guess what? You're violating their rights and all these factors. Now with CIFA, I like to say this. I was there at the court when this occurred. Now, of course, we couldn't say anything, but by the public opinion, CIFA did really bad because that's how they made it out to be. That wasn't the case because you only hear half-truths. You don't know the whole truth. So with that said, that was done because the intent of the other party wanted more, and we were not going to give it. And when they came before the council, I said, no, you're going to stick with your contract. And that's where it happened. If they want to take you to court, people sue for every or any or no reason at all. And so with that case, unfortunately, that was a tough battle. And of course, senators were calling me, to include you, Mr. Chair, rightfully so. People are entrusting you. I am an open book. I've told you, blah, 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 this is the case, this is the situation. There's nothing for me to hide. But in all truth, I always said, we're not going to throw anyone under the bus. We are a family. We're going to stick together, whether you like it or not. And I'm not, as a leader, I'm not one of these individuals that is going to say, okay, this school is bad. We're going to put you out in the corner. We work together. So with this, Senator, I like to say this because CIFA is not here today, okay? CIFA just got into a bad situation because of the other party, and it looks really bad. But it is, like Mike said, I'm going to say this, is not as bad as it was. It really wasn't. Unfortunately, I told them, you're the sacrificial lamb today. Unfortunately, it is the truth. And I'm here to support you. Sometimes you need to just let people do what they may. And sometimes you find out who your true supporters are at the end of the day. And so with that said, the mamalo-ness, in our custom, mamalaw, they're mamalaw. I said, pick your head up high. It's hard to do that when you're mamalaw. And I said, you know, unfortunately, as the chair, I have to do what I have to do, but just know that we are a team. And it's a learning experience, okay? But at the end of the day, all the 7 charter schools continue their mission. They march on, they do far more. Thank you, Speaker Wampat, for introducing this bill becoming a law. Far greater than people ever realize. Ask the people that count the most, the students. You go to the charter schools, everyone is excited. They're happy. Children don't lie in their face. They don't come to school because they're hungry. They come to school because they're hungry to learn. I mean, I'm not talking physical food. I'm talking learn and love the environment. It's a beautiful thing. And also, since I have your moment in time, I want to say before I forget that in Pika's best favorite, Mount Carmel is the best school on the island. So I like to address that too.
Thank you. You know, but what I want to say again, because I know we're mentioning SIFA, but like the chair said at the beginning, this is something that she's been trying to propose, push for the last 3 years. So I just, as much as we can, we've highlighted some of the bad situations that have happened recently, right? That could probably we could use to justify as a reason to push this legislation. I think for me, it really came down to just trying to get a history of all the things that have happened and trying to understand, like, I think even if we threw this bill out the door, my thing would be always what kind of oversight, what way can we implement some kind of oversight mechanism to ensure fiscal responsibility. That, I think for me, that's the #1 goal here. And even if it's just, again, there are all kinds of different proposals. I've heard, I've heard from different other stakeholders in the charter community who had some concerns about this bill, and I'd just like to say I'm open to working with the charter and the council to ensure that this works for everybody. But we'll go ahead and take questions from the panel or from my colleagues here, and we'll start with Senator Calvo and then Senator Gumatauta. Thank you.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Chair. Buenas, half a day, everyone. This has been a very exciting morning, right? I want to thank everyone first who offered their testimonies. They're quite enlightening. This whole process is actually quite important for us policymakers, and your testimonies can actually help us tighten this bill, adjust or improve it. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody, and everybody's happy, right? When I signed up as a co-sponsor of this bill, I know that the intent was obviously to protect not just the charter schools, not just the students, as well as public funds, right? I wouldn't say that it may feel like as if it's overreaching, but the fact of the matter is this is not a terrible bill, okay? And I will defend that. And I know that in the spirit of accountability and transparency, policies like this are important for us to deliberate, and hence we invite you over. I recognize that charter schools have done so incredible job here in our community, and I really commend each one of you guys. I have frequented several charter schools, and I was really very impressed. Career Tech, I am a frequent guest. And obviously, Guam Academy also I have visited, and the children are thriving, happy, as you mentioned earlier. They well behaved. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I'm a mother, grandmother, so obviously we want to ensure that our children get the proper education, proper molding that they can get. So at the end of the day, I like the fact that this bill talks about protection of public funds, strengthens the council's oversight role. I think those are good things. But based on your testimonies, obviously, at the markup meeting, as our chair mentioned earlier, we can take all that into account. We can probably adjust the threshold, the amount threshold, if we're not happy about it. This is really not, I don't think we're here to be overbearing and to be overreaching. What we wanted to do as policymakers is basically just put safeguard, and we meant very well. We mean very well all the times. And actually, I wanted to recognize former Speaker Judith Wonpat for all your hard work. Being the original author of the charter school law, you really played a big hand in the education system of our community at this point in time. And of course, I will not forget to recognize each and every one of you, each and every charter school. And you know, in every crate, there's always going to be a bad apple or a bad situation that causes a bad apple that can contaminate the other apples. So our positioning here as public servants, as policymakers, is to right away try to address and mitigate further implications of situation. Hence, this bill came about, and I didn't think twice becoming a co-sponsor of this bill, because the intent is noble here. And I just wanted to stress that and underscore that, just so we don't, you know, moving forward, we tighten this bill, we work together, and we take into each other's account. So at that, and on that note, I don't really have any question, because I know that you guys are all doing a great job, and I'm proud of you guys, and I'm proud of the products, the students that the charter schools are yielding. You know, these are the future leaders of our society, and I am so thankful for people like you guys who constantly battle each day and constantly, you know, push the success of these individuals, these students, these kids that are going to be the future leaders of our island. So on that note, I just want to thank each one of you, and let's move forward and go ahead, bring in all your concerns, and let's tighten this bill. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Calvo. Senator Gubatato.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the panel for being with us this morning. Just one question and comments, if I could. Let me just ask this question. Recognizing that the FY 2026 budget law provides continuing appropriation authority to Guam's charter schools, what portion of the cumulative $22.7 million budget in FY 2025 was not obligated as of September 30, 2025? And what information is available summarizing expenditures that were covered by $1 million in supplemental funding, which the Guam legislature provided to the Academy Charter Schools and the Charter Schools Council in August 2024 through Public Law 37-124.
Thank you, Senator Gumatato, for that question. I have the answer. Okay, the answer is they've used the money. Of course, they need it. And they're working at 7-8, which is incredible to begin with. With 7,800 per student people, they are doing it, and far more. So the money has been spent. With the supplemental, we have finally got our equipments, because when we go to a council meeting, we go to their school, we utilize what we have, we do whatever to make it work to be under the Open Government Act, right, the law. We work it, and sometimes it doesn't work. We have to wait, and this is how we work it. Now we've bought equipment and supplies for that. We've purchased a vehicle, one vehicle, which is badly needed, because a lot of times when every month I require FELI, our AO, to go out to each of these charter schools, do basically a visit, come back and report to me, are there all these requirements, are their certificate posted publicly? Is the public health certification up to date? All these other things. The website, is everything current? All these things. So when the people go into the website, everything is current, and it's not 3 years ago. So all the money for the supplemental, we are down to the very minimal, Senator. And it's, again, because that's a procurement thing. Just so you know, for the record, last year in October, when the supplemental was provided to us, I asked Ms. Felly to go ahead and do all the procurement process, work it out with DOA. It took 1 full year. We just got our car 2.5 weeks ago. 1 full year, and every time I said, "What is going on, Felly?" "Oh, ma'am, it's procurement, it's this, it's that." I wrote a letter to the director and the deputy. I called them personally, and the car was done in 3 days. I'm saying to you that the money has been utilized. There is no money that is, for whatever reason, Senator.
So, and that's why I ask, and the comments that I wanted to say is, and I think that we're doing things a little bit differently in the 38th Guam legislature. The comments that were made earlier and the changes to public policy, I completely appreciated from everyone that testified today. Our markup process and the work in the committee is just done a little differently. Yeah. And I think that much of the input that you gave today, first off, it was good to hear it. I appreciated every single bit of the input. And then I think to give us a chance as policymakers to do our job, to be able to mark this bill up and to make it something that can work. Will it require an additional public hearing? Maybe. I'm just in my recent couple months as a policymaker recently on a couple bills that might have everybody a little bit riled up, that if it does become a very substantive change, then I'm hoping that the chairman will allow us to come back and pursue this one more time. Because I think it's your input that's going to make the changes. Mm-hmm. And if it's substantive changes it, well, then maybe we might have to cross that bridge. Senator, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you have the same thing to say?
Actually, the privilege is yours, Senator.
I'm
patient. I'll wait for you.
Oh, no. I just wanted to say that's what I just wanted to just give kudos. And thank you for your input today, and thank you for both Speaker Wampat and for Senator Will Castro for being with us today. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Gumatata. Senator Castro, since you used to be a senator, your 5 minutes is up. So I can't, just kidding. Go ahead.
Would someone yield? Anyway, to Senator Gumatata's question about supplemental, first, I do want to give credit where credit is due, right? The Department of Administration has been very cooperative. We're coming towards the end of last fiscal year, and I sent a very simple message. Can you give me an exact amount of something that's unexpended, the amount that's unexpended, unencumbered? And we know the differences in accounting. And they were so responsive, and so we went out of our way to make sure that we encumbered it in advance. And while that may represent the typical rush for a regular cycle in a fiscal year for Guam, for example, I've been there, we've all been there, you're here. I can tell you that it's not the same with academic institutions. And that's because we have three different calendars, actually 4. Well, let me count. We have the academic calendar, which begins in August. We have the fiscal year calendar, which begins October 1. We have, I could go on, we have the grants calendar, the federal grants calendar, I think is on or around between April and June, depending if you're applying or closing out. So that would be 3. So kudos to DOA, Felly, and the chair for facilitating this. The second thing I want to bring up is the use of the term supplemental, while accurate, is a misnomer. A supplemental to me is over and above what you were appropriated. In the case of Career Tech, you didn't supplement me anything. What you did was you gave me money at the end of a fiscal year ahead of an academic year. There's a difference. If I had 200 kids and I'm going to start 300 next month in the same fiscal year, You didn't give me any extra money. I think there's a misconception, not by you, senators, but by the general public, that you gave me supplemental in addition to what you've been providing me. You didn't do that. What you did was you exercised responsible management control and governance by giving me money ahead of the fiscal year. Because I'll tell you what we've been plagued with, and Mr. Chairman, you can use this in your programming for next year. How is it that you budget me October 1, but I begin in August? It makes no financial sense to me, right? So, for the record, I would love to have this conversation because it's problematic from a cash flow perspective. I front-loaded, and this is to the sins of my misplaced trust, front-loaded, getting ready, learning from past practice and experience, getting ready to grow to 300, and I don't necessarily expect a response. So I got 1/3 of my additional staff preparing to grow. I almost signed a lease for a second campus in the central part of Guam. And then the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, which is fine, that's your prerogative, decided not to increase either the per capita or the enrollment cap. So I had to use any cash that I learned how to do with my colleagues here, I learned from them, to be able to front load that, because you don't pay people in October for work they do in August. And you gave me $10, but I have a $13 expenditure coming up. And to tell me after the fact that I can't grow, we definitely need to work on that communication part. And it's no one person's fault. It's my mistake for misplacing my trust. And again, it's not an indictment or a castigation of doubt or anything more than it is saying the use of the word supplemental in the context of career tech is not my reality. But I do thank you, Senator Gumatautau, and the good chairman here, and Senator Calvo for being very open and receptive to coming down to career tech. I'll give you, I'll treat you so well when you come down, because it really truly is a unique experience. And then when you're done there, go up the street and visit Mount Carmel, my colleagues, and I just want to state those 2 points for the record.
In closing, Chair, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say 2 things in closing before, I want to say thank you for this opportunity, Senator. Senator Borja, I've got to give you and applaud you. From the time you came into office, you've been very open. I called, I can be a nag, this, just so everybody knows. I can be a nag because, yes, Senator, I can be a nag because my goal is to fight for the charter schools. And that's the first thing I said. Mr. Senator Borja, I'm not here for anything but to fight for the charter. I told him I'm preparing you 3 senators that come budget, we're going to fight for more money. Everything has increased. We remained at 7-8 for 3, almost 4 years. That is incredible. Talk about stretching our dollar. I'm preparing you for that. There's no way around it. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, we're not going to get it. I've told every one of the 7, we're going to fight, because everything has gone up and they had to work within their means, and even sometimes be very innovative in that way. And that's in a very conservative manner. But we have to do this. Second, our charter schools basically are doing great. Sure, we have problems. Who doesn't? We have big problems, we have small problems, but we resolve it as a group. When they come to me, I said, okay, let me talk. We're going to talk to the council. Let's meet. We can't do 3 or 4 because we're in violation of we have to do this. And I'm very cautious to all that. With that said, I just want everyone to be aware that Senator Borja, you called me early this morning. I picked up. It rang. I picked up. With that said, I said, be self-assured that every time I come and do a public hearing, I pray. And I leave it to God, because I'm coming to speak the truth. And at the end of the day, it's going to work out. So I told all these people, I'm not the enemy. You may not like it, but this is what it is. Another markup, I am all for the bill, because the intent of the bill is great. It's maybe the threshold would be $100,000. I've been consistent with this amount, $100,000 and above. It's not to manage or micromanage anyone, because the less, the better. I leave it to them. I just wanted to say that we're going to fight and ask and request for an increase on the charter schools per capita. And second, I just want to applaud you and thank you for bringing this up. I know, it wasn't popular with our charter schools, but I appreciate you hearing what needed to be said and done, and the intent of this bill is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abeda. Sidus Masi for everybody coming down today, Madam Chair, and all the charter school representatives and those here to testify. On Bill number 200-38, your valuable insights and testimony are essential as we work to refine this legislation to best serve our educators and our community. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the concerns and the opposition that have been raised during this hearing and through discussions with constituents. Please know that your feedback is not only heard, but deeply valued as part of this legislative process. This bill, like all legislation, is a collaborative effort, and it is through civic engagement like yours that we can ensure it reflects the needs and priorities of our island. I remain committed to considering all perspectives as we move forward, and I hope that with the input received today, we can improve and strengthen this bill before it's placed on the session agenda. This will conclude this morning's public hearing on the appointment of Carl E. Torres in bills number 199-38 and 200-38. The committee will continue to accept written testimony on these bills within 7 days from today, which may be addressed to myself, Senator Vincent Borja, as Chairman on the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting, or mailed to DNA Building, Suite 502, 238, Archbishop Flores Street, Hagåtña, Guam, 96910. You may also send your testimonies to contact@senatorvinceborja.com. This morning's public hearing is now adjourned, and the time is now 10:55 a.m. Have a good day, everyone.